I hope they're ready because we're about to unleash our entire arsenal on their squad. Now, Kelly Stauffer, as a former player, with that relaxed attitude and that mentality of unleashing everything you have, how would you react to that? If it bleeds down into this roster, Ole Miss is going to have a heck of a night tonight.
I think that's why they're on this run. I think it is bleeding down into the roster. I think that's who Pete Golding is. It's kind of the antithesis to Lane Kiffin. And we can get into that story more as the game goes along. But, Fitzy, to your point, I think that's exactly why this team is on this run, because Pete Golding is exactly what they needed for this time in this place.
Well, Kelly, Ole Miss has won the toss. You heard that big cheer. Everybody in red cheered when they say the Rebels are going to receive it. What a moment it was down with the captains at the center field there at the 50-yard line. The honorary captains for the Hurricanes, Hall of Famer Ray Lewis, Hall of Famer Edgerrin James, and for Ole Miss, Hall of Famer Patrick Willis. And someday in the Hall of Fame, one would think Eli Manning, two-time Super Bowl champ. His number 10 is retired by both the Giants and Ole Miss. And by the way, flew in with our spotter and stat man, Keith Parsons and Ken Benowitz. So we
ought to get a 2-on-2 game going with those four guys. That would be intriguing.
Well, we will have Ole Miss receiving the kickoff as the Rebels are wearing the powder blue uniforms tonight. Numerals in white, blue helmets. Miami going with the clean white look, tops and bottoms, and outlined in the orange and the green. Miami has not been at home since the middle of November when they played NC State. They finished the regular season with Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh on the road. They played their first rounder at Texas A&M. Obviously, everybody's on the road, neutral site for the Cotton Bowl in their win over Ohio State. And the irony is, if they win here today, not only would they play in their home building, which has never happened in the BCS or the college football playoff, but as fate would have it, they would be in their own locker room. That was decided last year when there was a decision made as to which semifinal bowl would get which national championship locker room. We are just about set to get underway here in Glendale, Arizona. Carter Davis going to kick it off from right to left. Isaiah Hartrope is waiting, and he's going to watch it sail over his head and into the end zone for a touchback. And now we get a look at 23-year-old Trinidad Chambliss, who many say was the fourth-string quarterback as he came over to Ole Miss from Ferris State, where he won a national championship at the D2 level, but he was clearly the number 2 quarterback, and it was an injury to Austin Simmons that got him the starting job week 3, and he's not given it up since.
Yeah, Kesty, and I love what Trinidad said during the week leading up to this game. He said, in the Sugar Bowl, it felt like I was playing in the backyard with my dad and my brothers and my cousins, and that's why he played like he did. He was footloose and fancy-free, and we're going to have to see more of that tonight for this team to be successful.
Dewan Lacey, nearly 1,500 rushing yards, is in the backfield. Tight end Daquan Wright motions on the right side of the line. 1st and 10 from the 25. A pass play out to the wide side. It is caught and immediately dropped as Dejon Scribbling that time. Xavier Lucas, the cornerback for Miami, right on it. Might have got 3.
And Kesty, when Ole Miss has the ball, we may not be talking very much. You're going to have to let people hear you because it's about 22 seconds between snaps on average.
2nd down, we'll call it a long 6. About the 29-yard line. Handoff this time, and Lacey tried to get up the middle and stuffed near the 30-yard line, just over the 30. Will give him 2 yards. Akeem Mesidor, part of a great front for Miami with Reuben Bain on the other end, Justin Scott, and David Blade Jr. in the middle of that defensive front.
They got 3 drop hits in 2026.
We do have a Hurricane player down, and that's Ahmad Moten Sr., who we were actually told would be the 2nd defensive tackle in. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. It's heavily taped, and it looks like he's kind of shaking his head, no, I gave it a shot, and not sure how long he'll be able to participate tonight.
Well, Ole Miss's fans are booing because they've seen a lot of shenanigans to try to slow down the pace of play when their offense has the football. But Charlie Weiss Jr. told us that a lot of people like up-tempo, but ours is at a next level. Lane Kiffin, who's no longer there, has been building this offense for quite some time, and they go as fast as you possibly can. The key is you can go fast right off the field, too, if you don't extend drives and pick up first downs.
Let's check in downstairs with Chris Budden.
Well, Ahmad Moten is currently standing up now, trying to put any sort of pressure on that right ankle. I did check on him during pregame warmups, and he was running at full speed. So I don't think it was a will I be able to go today as much as did that last play aggravate something.
And Ahmad Moten is one of those inside guys. Chris had mentioned earlier about Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, but they're very good inside as well. And Moten is one of those guys that locks down the interior, and especially in that run game, and that frees up both Bain and Mesidor to attack that quarterback. I didn't like Chris talking about that thought process for Miami, that they practice hating the quarterback. That unnerves me just a bit.
That's a long-time quarterback, and our man Kelly Stauffer. Armando Blunt is in for Ahmad Moten Sr. This is going to be a 3rd and 4 for Ole Miss. We're in the opening minute of play, about to cross the 1-minute mark. 3rd down and 4. Lacey in the backfield, 2 in the backfield surrounding the quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, who claps his hands a couple of times, and now Caden Lee heads out to the left. There's the snap, pressure coming, has to throw it away, incomplete. Don't know if he was out of the tackle box or not. Either way, going to be 4th down. Heavy pressure led by linebacker Mohamed Touré.
And the officials will convene on this because it's a penalty that there's a lot of people that have to be in on it. And I think the flag initially was thrown to the ground, so this might be intentional grounding.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 6. It's outside the pocket. The pass did not get to the line of scrimmage. Lost it down at the spot of the foul. 4th down.
Ron Snodgrass of our Big Ten officiating team. So he was outside the tackle box. He just didn't get it back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and that's why the officials, they have different things that they're looking at during the play. And so on a pass like that, there are a lot of things that you have to coordinate, and the officials did a really nice job of getting to the right decision on that play.
So that pushes the punter, Oscar Bird, back inside the 5. No pressure as he takes the long snap, kicks it away. And it is Malachi Toney waiting, and he will receive it and try to get upfield, but was quickly grabbed and dropped at about the 37-yard line. Malachi Toney, their outstanding freshman punt returner and receiver, 49-yard punt, 4-yard return. And so Miami's defense living up to the billing to open this semifinal. And now with 13:43 to go first quarter, Carson Beck in the Miami offense will get their first attack, Kelly. Good field position at the 36-yard line.
Well, everything we said about the pace of play for Ole Miss offensively, going as fast as they can, invert that where you're talking about Miami. Carson Beck and company want to go slow, be methodical, and continue to drive the football. Time of possession is important.
Mark Fletcher is their big back. He's going to run. He bounces right, nothing, cuts back inside, able to push the pile forward over the 40-yard line. Mark Fletcher's run for 947 yards this season. That's a 5-yard gain. We saw him with a career-high 172 in round 1 against Texas A&M.
And Kesty, to consider Miami offensively, you have to start with their head coach, Mario Cristobal. Offensive lineman at Miami, longtime offensive line coach, builds his programs around the line of scrimmage, the offensive line in particular, and that is the unit that Miami wants to hang their hat on today.
2nd down and 5. Beck, shotgun snap, throws it out in the flat. It is caught by Marion. 1st down at the 46-yard line, 41-yard line rather, and out of bounds, right sideline at about the 43. Keelan Marion converting that time. Capenna Gushigan with the tackle after 8 yards.
Carson Beck is completing over 74% of his passes this year, and that's what he's been asked to do. It's not the kind of the bombs that weigh and take shots like at times he did at Georgia. It's methodical, it's efficient, anticipation, and accuracy.
49-yard line, the line of scrimmage. They're going to go 2 receivers right, 2 to the left, including Malachi Toney in the slot left. Snap, quick play fake, stepping up back, throwing down the seam for Toney over his head and incomplete. He had him past the initial defender at the 30-yard line, but it goes for naught.
And that was one of the design shot plays, trying to get the ball to Malachi Toney, and the safety to that side comes up late. Toney goes right by him. And Carson Beck just threw this ball outside. I was talking about accuracy. If this ball is thrown down the left hash, Malachi Toney's in the end zone. Instead, it was thrown over his outside shoulder, and Toney couldn't get to it.
Defense always has to keep an eye where number 10 is, Malachi Toney. 2nd down and 10, Hurricanes just a yard shy of midfield. It's a handoff to Fletcher, hit from behind, pushing him forward over midfield to the plus 49 for a gain of 2.
And consider how this drive is already playing out. That Miami, we talked about, they want to execute and be efficient. So they throw the ball accurately on first down to to extend the drive, and then they're allowed to or take chances on first down throwing the ball because of the accuracy that Carson Beck has been showing.
3rd down and 8 here. Trips to the left from the plus 49. C.J. Daniels, the lone receiver to the right. Off the snap, Beck short drop. He's going to move up in the pocket. Now he's going to run at the 45-yard line and is down just shy of the first down. At the 43-yard line, T.J. Daugherty took him down after a gain of 7. 4th down and 1 here. Mario staying on the field.
Mario Cristobal has the first big decision, and you're past the 50-yard line, so that's a plus. You only have 1 yard to gain, so that's the next thing that the coach considers. And then, oh, by the way, I think I might have the most violent, physical offensive line in college football, so let's go ahead and try to extend this drive.
Going it officially 4th and 2. Looks like 4th and a long one here. They'll go from a pistol formation with 3 tight ends on the left side of the line, and Fletcher behind the quarterback Beck, who takes the snap, hand off to Fletcher, runs into the pile, tries to push it forward. Linesmen look like they're giving him the first, and they will, just shy of the 40-yard line of Ole Miss. 3-yard gain by Fletcher, first down Miami.
Mark, you talked about the 3 tight ends to the left, but at the end of the day, it's almost like a flying wedge play. The running back Fletcher tucks up right behind the center and actually bounces it a little bit to the right. But Fletcher's a big man and moves the pile. 67% of the yards are after contact for Mark Fletcher.
And in that pile, linebacker Andrew Jones went down, still down on the field, being attended to, and we'll have a timeout here in Glendale, Arizona. First down and 10, Miami at the Ole Miss 40-yard line. When we come back, Miami, Ole Miss scoreless, and with 10:49 to go first quarter, you're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
If you're an HVAC technician and a call comes in, Grainger knows that you need a partner that helps you find the right product, fast and hassle-free. And you know that when the first problem of the day is a clanking blower motor, there's no need to break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product details, you're confident you'll soon have everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com.
Shout out to everyone watching. I appreciate
Grainger,
you guys.
for the ones
Ole
who get
Miss,
it done.
Miami, scoreless. Miami with the football at the Ole Miss 40-yard line.
Tomorrow in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
I get questions, how are you going to sustain it? We're not looking to sustain it. We're looking to improve it.
The Indiana Hoosiers face the Oregon Ducks.
Touchdown, Oregon! The magic continues!
The College Football Playoff Semifinals. Tomorrow at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
3 on the way for the win. He got it!
College Basketball Saturday on ESPN Radio. It's an SEC showdown in Gainesville.
Spins right to the baseline. He's held. The layup is good. And a chance for 3 at the line.
The 21st ranked Tennessee Vols face the Florida Gators. Number 21 Tennessee at Florida. Coverage begins Saturday morning at 11:30 Eastern with tip-off at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
What's up, Dean Ross?
This is the College Football
NFL HD, bro.
Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Ole Miss went 3 and out on his first possession. Miami just converted. First down and 10. They'll have it at the Ole Miss 40. We're scoreless. Ole Miss and Miami. Let's pause 10 seconds for station ID. You're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden with you. First and 10, first quarter, no score. Miami moving at the Rebel 40-yard line and ready to go out of the timeout. In the pistol, snap back, handoff. This is Shamar Brown, this time bouncing right side. Got an initial surge out to the 36-yard line before being taken down by cornerback
4-yard gain
Antonio
right there,
Kite after
2nd and
5
6.
yards.
And Kesty, Miami offensively is a physical in the tackle box run team. And when they throw the ball, it's a get the ball out of your hands, Carson Beck type of throw game. 2-point 3.5 seconds is the time it takes for Carson Beck on average to get rid of the ball. It's the lowest in college football. That's why it's hard to get pressure on him.
Second down and 6 here. Shamar Brown really didn't get a lot of run at running back until the late stages of their win last week. Had the go-ahead touchdown. Here's a screen pass out to the left. Malachi Tony tries to get into the void and is taken down at about the 32-yard line, right near the first down line to gain. Picked up 3. It's going to be third down and the long one coming up.
And on the play sheet with Shannon Dawson, Malachi Tony has his own little call-up that says touches. And anytime that he hasn't touched the ball, you can do automatic guaranteed touches like that. Put him in motion. They can't press him on the line of scrimmage. They throw a bubble screen outside to him, and then it's just kind of a punt return. He gets out in space, and he's an electric runner of the football.
Miami facing third down and 1 here. Beck going under center this time. Tony split out to the right. Tight ends on the right side. Play fake Beck looking downfield. Screens it out into the flat. Shamar Brown breaks a tackle at the 30, has the first down, and is finally bumped out of bounds at about the 26-yard line. Downstairs to Ian Fitzsimmons.
Andrew Jones just went into the Ole Miss locker room. It's a right leg injury, and every time he took a step, Kesty, he winced.
That's too bad because he has really come on of late. Was making his 6th straight start at linebacker for the Rebels.
And that last play on 3rd and short was a home run play. And that's the chemistry that the play caller Shannon Dawson has with Carson Beck. It wasn't there, so he checks it down and extends the drive anyway.
A handoff to Fletcher on first down. Bulls his way forward off the right tackle over the 30-yard line, over the 25-yard line to about the 23. 3-yard gain. Suntarian Perkins, the edge rusher for Ole Miss, getting the tackle.
So, Kesty, because of how quickly Carson Beck gets rid of the football, they minimize sack and they maximize yak, which is yards after the catch. Over 2,100 yards this Miami offense has with receivers catching it and carrying it for more yards.
11th play of this drive, the first for Miami. Second down and 7 at the Ole Miss 23. They send a receiver in motion to the right. Handoff Fletcher. Breaks one tackle. Gets over the 20. Into the red zone. And dives down to the 19-yard line. Taj Chambers in at linebacker. Gets the stop after 4 yards.
Kesty, Pete Golding said during the week, he's the head coach now, but he was the play caller and still is. He said, with Miami, you know what you're getting. The question becomes, can you stop it? I don't think Ole Miss likes what they're seeing right now because that massive physical offensive line is resetting the line of scrimmage instantly when the ball snapped.
Third down and 2. A lot of motion and movement for Miami. C.J. Daniels, 3 receivers on the left. Tight end motions, direct snap. This is Malachi Tony. Contacted in the backfield and slowed down.
4th
Cam
down.
Franklin, there was a question whether he'd be able to start. The sophomore 6'5", 290-pounder sniffed that out. That's the Mally Cat they like to run on the direct snap to Malachi Tony.
I like watching Malachi Tony with the ball, but I do not like that play call. You're third and very manageable. Run the football behind that offensive line I was just talking about. Instead, you snap it to a wide receiver 5 yards deep. Everybody knows that he's going to carry the football, and now it forces them to settle for a field goal attempt right here on this drive that looks so promising.
Carter Davis on for a 38-yard field goal attempt. Placement is down. Kick looks good. Plenty of leg. It's through the uprights. And Miami has the first points on their first drive. And with 6:22 to go in our
Ole Miss
opening
has to
quarter of this
find
college
some
football
way to
playoff
stop
semifinal,
Fletcher.
it's Miami 3, Ole Miss nothing. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Hey, fans! Welcome back to Fansville's Cheers and Tears. Oh. Okay, so like everybody deals with losing, right? To a rival on a last-second field goal. Whatever, it's fine. I'm totally fine. But I cope with losing with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Those 23 flavors are like so delicious. They totally wash away the pain of your college football team taking a big fat L. College football, it's a pepper thing.
This is Adam Schefter, and on this week's episode, Tom Brady's role shaping the future of the Raiders, an overhaul in Atlanta, and why the New York Giants kept Joe Shane. The Adam Schefter Podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Canty and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Is Mozambique the best country name of all time?
I thought that was a person.
Mozambique?
You thought Mozambique was a person? The way you just said it was like Mozambique, and I'm like, I don't know what to think.
You thought it was a basketball player?
Do you think the Knicks should play Mozambique?
Against the Spurs, Mike Brown really went to his bench.
Yeah.
Mozambique played some critical
And here's the thing, Tibbs would never have used Mozambique.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Quick break. Let's talk pizza. You want to bring restaurant quality pizza home this football season? Get Frigidaire's stone-baked pizza oven. Fresh pizzas go from dough to done in just 2 minutes. Right from your kitchen and ready before halftime. Perfect for watch parties or just upgrading pizza night without the delivery delay. Only from Frigidaire. Game-ready pizza. Get it today at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
This is the College Football Playoff Semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Miami and Ole Miss meeting for just the fourth time ever. First time in almost 75 years and a ton on the line. Winner heads to South Florida for the College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T here on ESPN Radio, Monday, January 19th. 3-0 Miami. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden. 3rd and 3. You didn't like that play call, I know, going into our timeout.
No, I don't think it was a very good play by Shannon Dawson, and the reason why is right now the thing that they had going on that drive is that offensive line was getting worked into a lather and moving the defensive line of scrimmage backwards. So if you read the room, 3rd and 3, run it up in there twice. You most likely convert and you extend the drive. Instead, a really, really promising drive ends up in 3 points, and I don't think that's going to win games like this.
Kelly Stauffer with his instant analysis brought to you by SoFi. Get your money right. We've got 6:22 to go, first quarter, and Ole Miss trying to get its offense right. They went 3 plays and minus 7 yards on that first series. And in the powder blue unis, Isaiah Hartrup waiting back. The end zone to our left, green end zone, Miami spelled out in orange. The end zone to our right in navy blue with the cardinal red Ole Miss. And Carter Davis just had the 38-yard field goal, kicks it off from right to left. This one is sailing again, and Hartrup will not even attempt to make the catch as it sails into the back of the end zone for a touchback. It'll be first down and 10. Rebels at their 25-yard line after this timeout. With 6:22 to go, first quarter, Miami 3, Ole Miss nothing. This is the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Tell me who could do it like this.
Saturday on SEC Network.
Show you how it's done.
SEC men's basketball from legendary Rupp Arena.
You know I can't miss when I do it like this.
Josh Hubbard and the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Hubbard and a 3.
Visit Ortega Oweh and the Kentucky Wildcats.
Wow, Oweh the finish.
Mississippi State at Kentucky. Saturday at 8:30 Eastern on SEC Network and the ESPN app. The Rich Eisen Show.
Our next guest I've never met. He's my best friend forever. My new BFF, the head coach of Michigan football. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Whittingham is here on the program. Are you aware that we're best friends forever?
I am now.
Very good.
I am now. Friendship accepted. How about that?
Fantastic. I have committed to you in the friendship portal. I'm all in. I come free. I work cheap as a friend.
That's refreshing. That's very refreshing.
The Rich Eisen Show from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, and on Disney Plus.
If you can't wear the big boy pants, Drink, why don't you pack up your bags and take your $10 million and get out of town?
Hall of Fame Bomb, SEC Network. You're listening to the College Football Playoff Semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
22 to go, first quarter, Miami 3, Ole Miss nothing. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons down on the Ole Miss sideline. Down on the Miami sideline, here's Chris Budden.
Ahmad Moten Sr., who was injured on Ole Miss's last possession, went to the injury tent. They rewrapped that right ankle. He came out. He was testing it. He's standing on the outside of the huddle. He went out with Jason Taylor to look at some film, so it looks like he's going to go back in. He has so much tape, guys, that in order to describe it, almost looks like he's wearing white ski boots. That's how thick the tape is around both the right and the left ankle.
I remember when he went into the injury tent, it was heavily wrapped black tape. Now they got even heavier white tape on top of that one. Kelly, if you're Trinidad Chambliss on this second series, you've seen that Miami defensive speed. Now comes that adjustment for him.
Yeah, if he can adjust, because this speed is, especially off the edges, is unlike anything he's probably faced this entire year. You know, we thought the defenses in the SEC would present this type of speed to him. I don't think, and certainly in a tandem of defensive ends, Mesidor and Bain, I mean, they are shot out of a cannon, are in instant pressure on the quarterback or the football in general, for that matter.
Well, Miami's defense, 12 sacks in the first two college football playoff games and 27 combined pressures between Mesidor and Moten. First down and 10, Ole Miss at their 25-yard line. Snap to Chambliss, moves pocket to the right. Quick pass out to Kejuan Lacey. Gets off of one defender at the 26, and now is gang tackled. They'll give his forward progress to about the 28-yard line. Middle linebacker Wesley Besaint with the stop after 3 yards.
If you're Charlie Weiss calling plays, really their scheme is their tempo to a large extent, but you also want to get Trinidad Chambliss outside the pocket, try to get him outside of that trouble off the edges, changing the launch point early in this game.
6 feet, 200-pounder from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Trinidad Chambliss. And on second down, this will be a design quarterback run around the right side. Gets by one defender who jumped at him. That was Jacoby Thomas, and out of bounds goes Chambliss on a 1-yard gain. It'll be third down.
Kesty, you can see already, you talked about the speed of Miami's defense. It's everywhere. Maybe not the defensive tackle positions. It's more about brawn and mass in there, but everywhere else, the closing speed is very visible.
Third down and 6. Miami showing some pressure. They will bring 4. Pass out to the flat is dropped, incomplete. The intended target was Deuce Alexander that time. And there's that Miami speed. Did not give Trinidad Chambliss hardly any time to spot open a receiver.
No, and if you get to third down and a pass down on Miami's defense, they have edge rushers that will move around. They're not always on the edges at the traditional defensive end position. Sometimes they're over the guard. Sometimes they're on the same side of the line of scrimmage, but then it's that blitz package added to it. That is a lot for offense to deal with.
Bird, the Aussie punter, sends a spiraling kick out to the left. It goes out of bounds past the 25-yard line. We'll watch the side judge walk past the 20, and he will stop at the 23. Gave him a good spot. Malachi Tony not able to get a return there after a 48-yard punt by the 24-year-old true freshman punter Oscar Bird. 5:11 to go. First quarter, Miami 3, Ole Miss nothing. ESPN Television gets a timeout here.
Second
we get a chance
straight
to check
punt
in
for
with our
Ole
Chris
Miss.
Button.
A lot of people
Having
here to
trouble
watch
moving the
Miami
football against
in
that
the
Miami
Fiesta Bowl,
defense.
including running back Mark Fletcher's family. His mom, though, drives here. She's afraid of flying, but to get here from Fort Lauderdale take you 37 hours in a car if you didn't stop. That's exactly what she did. They didn't stay overnight in a hotel. They had 3 separate drivers taking shifts to get here, and then they'll do the same thing tomorrow morning, driving all the way back. The good news is, win or lose, you don't have to travel anymore because they would play a home game back in Miami.
They better have had really, really good snacks.
Yes.
That is a long road trip.
It is, and they went to Cal Berkeley last year, right? That was that super long trip.
Crazy.
And Mark Fletcher Jr., who was the Cotton Bowl's offensive most valuable player last week, with 115 all-purpose yards. So important to this Miami offense. But the big question when we were talking about did Miami deserve to get in as an at-large on Selection Day, and it was, have you seen this defense, how they've played? And they've been so tremendous, and we've seen it so far here, these first 2 series early against Ole Miss.
Yeah, that is a really good point. This is the championship defense. I have believed that for several weeks now. The question is, what's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball? Who is Carson Beck going to be? How is that elbow going to respond? And I think about midway through the season, Shannon Dawson settled into, this is who we are. Let's own it and get really efficient at executing it. And it's a accurate, efficient pass game to go along
What's
with
up, Johnny?
sometimes a brutal
Hey, what's up, DB?
downhill run game, and it's worked
How you doing,
really,
bro?
really well down the stretch of the
Guys,
season.
go check out my buddy
Conversely,
Daniel
we'll
Berry
see Ole
Sports
Miss's
Highlights.
defense
Best
coming up here.
highlights on
When you look
YouTube.
at the Final Four, the 4 teams remaining, we'll have Indiana and Oregon tomorrow night, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl here on ESPN Radio beginning at 7 Eastern time. 2 outstanding defenses. We saw what Indiana did to Alabama last week. Oregon's had a great defense. We talked about Miami. Ole Miss would be the weak link of those 4, but still a very good defense.
They're going to be playing that back inside their locker room to give them more ammo. But you're right. The other 3 have really good defenses. There's no question. And they can win any type of fight. And you're right. I don't know that we see that out of Ole Miss. There's nothing really overpowering. And there was a good line that Shannon Dawson said about this game, is we have to realize that the key to us winning is our offensive line, because our offensive line goes forward. Their defensive line likes to go laterally, meaning they play a lot of games. It isn't that they're not physical, but that isn't their wheelhouse. It's guys on the move, kind of that hit-and-run mentality.
See how the defense fares here for Ole Miss. Miami's drive started at the 23-yard line. 3 receivers tight to the right. Snap and a handoff. Shamar Brown gets through the initial front, and off the left side got out to about the 30-yard line that time. Nick called the safety to stop. About 7 yards will give Shamar Brown, who's got some real speed, real good burst.
And that's the difference, because Mark Fletcher is really a complete running back, but he doesn't have the burst that Shamar Brown does. He comes in from North Dakota State, one of those portal guys, and he changes the angles of that Ole Miss defense by a little more speed than Fletcher.
2nd and 2, they gave him the 30. Quick pass out to Bauman. Tight end has it. First down off the left side, angling toward the sideline. Stays inbounds, but tackled over the 35-yard line to about the 37 by Taj Chambers. Quick pass there by Beck. You mentioned 75% completion rate.
The anticipation by Beck, the accuracy. I told you guys this morning when we were visiting in our production meeting that I would pause the tape and look at where the receiver was when Beck had thrown the football. Sometimes the ball was halfway there, and you could still see the back numbers of the receiver.
Yep.
That's the confidence that Carson Beck is playing with right now.
7th-year senior from Jacksonville, Florida. Played at the University of Georgia. 2 championships as a backup. 1st and 10 Miami. Play fake. Beck throws over the middle. Caught by Tony. He's clocked right at the 50-yard line. Flag comes in from behind as well. Might be a targeting call here. The Mississippi defender, Nick Cole, got the worst of it. He is still down. Tony was able to hang on to it for completion to the 49 of Ole Miss.
Damn, 15 more.
This was a play-action pass and throwing the skinny post to Malachi Tony in a bunch of traffic. That was a violent
Personal foul, targeting, defense, number 19. The play will be under further review.
And that's 29, I believe, with the targeting Nick Cole.
Correction, number 29.
There you go.
Thank you.
Ron
Don't
Snodgrass,
kick him
our
out.
Big Ten
Jesus.
referee here for the semifinal. Call is up. We're getting our first look at the ESPN replay. It was bang, bang. Tony is a defenseless player as he tries to make that catch. Now we're getting the frame-by-frame slowdown. And there was helmet-to-helmet collision there.
Yeah,
and it looks like Cole is going to be targeting and an ejection.
Yeah, the words are forcible contact above the shoulders and
Damn,
the head
they're
and
gonna
neck
throw him out.
on a defenseless player. Receiving the football makes Tony defenseless, like you said, Castillo.
And it doesn't have to be the helmet, right? It could be forearm,
yeah,
it could be
you could
fist,
give him a
elbow.
flying drop kick in the head, and it wouldn't matter. And the intent doesn't matter either. Nick Cole was not trying to do anything violent, but that's not the point. They want to take those type of collisions out of the game, and those targeting fouls have brought those type of plays down considerably since they've been enforcing that. But Tony also went off the sideline. He got up, but he wasn't interested in staying in the game for the next play.
Ron Snodgrass has the headset on, talking to the folks back in Pittsburgh, and here he comes.
After review, there is no foul for targeting on the play. The results of the play is a first down.
Wow. You know, we sit in those meetings in the summertime, and we have these discussions, and the only thing I could think of is that
Go ahead.
he wasn't launching.
I think that's the thing. There has to be an indicator. So a launch, ducking down and launching in. The other thing is the interpretation of forcible. And Nick Cole is trying to keep his head out of the way. So I think those two things probably, Kesty, to your point, kept Nick Cole in the game.
Well, they're already down Andrew Jones, who went off their starting linebacker with injury. Nick Cole will not be ejected from the game. It is first down and 10. Malachi Tony somehow was able to hang on to that football. This will be Shamar Brown. Goes to the left, cuts to the center. Flag is down as he gets over the 40, breaks another tackle, and is down at the 31-yard line of Ole Miss. Taj Chambers finally got him down, but there's a marker down at the 45-yard line. We'll see if the 18-yard pickup holds.
Holding. Offense.
Coming back.
Number 87.
Holding on Alex Bauman, the Miami tight end. And let's go down to Chris Button.
It's good news for Malachi Tony. After that hit, he went straight into the injury tent. He came back out, with his helmet on, sprinted back out to the sidelines.
That's good news for Tony, who hung on and was part of that violent collision in midfield. Alex Bauman, the tight end that time on the penalty by Miami, will set him back to their own 45-yard line.
And what happened to Alex Bowman right there is he was to the backside of the run. This was supposed to be an inside zone to the left, and Brown cut it all the way back to the right, and Bauman didn't know the running back was in the neighborhood. And so when the defender tried to slide off of him, that's when Bauman got called for the hold.
First down, 16 yards to go. Quick tunnel screen pass is caught and tackled at the 48 is JoJo Trader, the 6'1 sophomore receiver from Hollywood. He gets 3 yards back. Deshaun Womack with the quick tackle. Second down and 13 coming, and here comes Malachi Tony back into the field, into the huddle.
Fantastic team defense on that now screen. So you bomb it out to a fleet-footed receiver, and then it becomes just a guy out in space trying to make a play. And so there was leverage outside by Ole Miss to force the receiver back inside, and that's when the posse caught up to it.
2.5 minutes to go, first quarter, 3-0 Miami. Second and 13, snap to Beck. 5-step drop, looking nothing, steps up, now swings a backward pass. Fletcher had it on the ground, now he picks it up, breaks a tackle, 45, jumps into the air left sideline, and is tackled at the 50-yard line. That was near disaster for Miami. Chris Graves, the tackle, it ends up being a gain of 5.
And really good awareness by Mark Fletcher, because when Carson Beck climbs in the pocket, the outlet receiver, which in this case is running back Mark Fletcher, ends up behind the quarterback. So that ball definitely was going backwards. Fletcher knew it, picked it up, and got something out of nothing.
Still 3rd and 9, though, for Miami. The Ole Miss fans getting loud. They want their defense to get a stop. Minute 40 to go here in the first quarter. 3 receivers to the right, tight end to the left. Snap to Beck, but a flag comes in. He did not get that snap off in time, or was there movement on the line? Waiting on Ron Stockton.
False start.
Back him up 5.
Number 70, 5-yard penalty.
3rd and 14.
6'9" left tackle Markel Bell. This is a Miami team that did not have a single penalty in last weekend's win over Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl.
And Markel Bell at 345 pounds, he's 6'9", and so he flinched his left leg, which is most of an entire person for most of the humans walking around on the planet. So it was very noticeable. Just forgot the snap count right there.
5-yard penalty, 3rd and 14. Now Carson Beck walks up to the line, now backs up, has a word for his running back Mark Fletcher, is off his left hip. Snap, handoff, Fletcher wrapped up at the 49 and dropped right there. Ole Miss rallied to the ball, led by Centurion Perkins that time, and Will Eccles. Gain of 2. It's 4th down. Miami's punting unit heads onto the field.
And the effect that penalty had, Kesty, on 3rd and 9, Miami was going to throw the football, but they got that illegal procedure by Markel Bell, and so now they just kind of a maintenance play up inside to Fletcher, and they're going to try to flip the field in terms of punting the football in field position.
Got Australian punters on both sides. Dylan Joyce, a rugby kick with the right leg from right to left, end over end. It's going to bounce at the 5, but it takes a forward bounce into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. Ole Miss will get it at the 20-yard line with 24 seconds to go in the first quarter. 3-0. Miami leads Ole Miss, and that's the defensive stop that Ole Miss needed here to slow down Miami early in this ballgame, get them off the field.
Kesty, if you think of that, the contrast in styles that we were talking about early on, this quarter is almost over, and it's 3-0.
What's
and
up, Kellen?
Done nothing offensively. So obviously,
How you
right
doing, buddy?
now, at least, the style that Miami wants to play is winning
Oh,
the
they're
game.
out tonight.
6 plays, negative 3
Promoted
yards for Ole Miss to start.
NCAA HD, baby.
First down and 10 at their own 20-yard line late in the first quarter. Snap, Chambliss, handoff. And this is Kewan Lacey spinning and goes down at about the 22-yard line. Teray with the tackle, 2 yards gain, and that should be or could be the final play of the first. Ole Miss likes to go fast. They may get another one off here. 7 seconds left from their own 22-yard line. Second down and 8. 3 seconds left. And they got movement on the clap by Ole Miss as David Blake Jr. looked like he jumped off sides for Miami with a second to go here in the quarter.
Offside. Defense, number 11 with contact. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Casey, I don't know that Ole Miss was going to snap the football.
I'm not sure either.
And because of David Blake jumping off sides, the center, Sanders, did the right thing by snapping it and getting that penalty. 5 free yards. We'll take it any time, especially when they were negative yards up to this point in time in the first quarter.
That penalty was probably their largest gain of the entire first quarter. As the quarter will end, as they set the ball for play, the final second ticks off, and we are through one quarter, a spot in the national championship game on the line. Miami 3, Ole Miss nothing after 1. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. This is Freddie and Harry.
I think the quarterback has to play a factor in this, and they already have their guy. He's set in stone. It's Jackson Dart. He's shown a lot of people that he can play in this lead in this rookie season. So if I'm John Harbaugh, also look at the defensive lineman that they have. Cam Scatterbull back. Malik Neighbors is going to come back as well at the wide receiver position. You add more pieces to the puzzle. So if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm wanting to go to the New York Giants.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny.
The way I would describe the Broncos, they have a defense that sets a floor and an offense with a high ceiling. The offense also has a low floor. Not super low. It's not like the worst, and but I'm going to take that team given what they're capable of, and then they've got a coach who, I trust as much as almost anyone here.
Check out The Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Oh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the college football playoff semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Miami Hurricanes 3-0 lead over the Ole Miss Rebels. About set to tee off the second quarter here. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden with you, our entire ESPN radio crew, and let's check in with Fitzy.
Ole Miss safety Nick Cole, who delivered a very, very hard hit and was almost ejected for targeting. It was overruled. It was no targeting call. He is still eligible to play. He just came out of the injury tent, has his helmet on, just went thud with an offensive lineman. He is cleared to play and will be back in this game for the Rebels.
Fitzy, did you break the news that he's still in the game? If he was in the injury tent, maybe he was unaware that he was still eligible.
I have a feeling that's part of the reason why he kind of jumped out of his seat and put his helmet back on.
Yeah, and they didn't take his helmet away. That's a good indicator as well.
Ole Miss will now go from our right to left. Second down and 3 to open the second quarter, trailing Miami 3-0. from their own 27-yard line. Snap Chambliss, handoff Lacey right through the middle, big hole, beats a safety at the 50, and he may be gone.
He's gone.
Lacey to the 30, to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
Let's go.
Keywan Lacey, 78 yards. Ole Miss has grabbed the lead here to open quarter number 2.
Ole Miss is a designer of explosive plays. They spread you out. They go fast. They try to lure you into what they call dirty eyes, meaning the defense isn't looking at the right thing. They spread out that time. They basically ran Keywan Lacey right down Main Street. And Kessie, I'm not sure the young man got touched.
Well, he is going to pass Quinshon Junkins for the most rushing yards in a single season. He only needed 104 coming in. The extra point is good by Lucas Carnero, and Lacey is over 1,500 rushing yards for this season on that 73-yard run. You'll take a look at it. Chambliss was a bit of a high snap, great blocking in the middle, and he had one man to beat. It was Zechariah Poyser, the safety, and you're right, I don't think he got a mid on him.
And Kessie, there was a double team, center and guard on what they call the 3 technique that's shaded on the guard to the left side. He's doubled. They go up to the linebacker. I think the key block was not only that double team, but Daquan Wright was slicing as a tight end from right to left, and just as there was a defender that was going to actually tackle Lacey for a loss, that tight end nicked him just enough, and Lacey was off to the races.
Charlie Weiss Jr., who is the outgoing offensive coordinator, headed to LSU whenever this Ole Miss run comes to an end. It talked about, a lot of times, he's calling the plays, but these guys are executing the plays, and that was another one for Keywan Lacey.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And Charlie Weiss Jr. is a terrific play caller. Typically, he has Lane Kiffin that works more in the explosive pass game department, but that was an explosive run.
Ole Miss kickoff from right to left will sail out the back of the end zone for a touchback, and you got to give Ole Miss so much credit. I mean, we were talking about in the lead-up, will Lane Kiffin stay, will he go, and he ultimately left for LSU, and you're thinking, what are the chances they can handle that with their head coach leaving, with their assistant coaches compromised, and many of them working 2 jobs, and it's just a testament not only to those coaches, but those players who coalesce since.
Yeah, that is a good word for it. And, being in those offensive rooms, obviously, as a former quarterback, I can't imagine not knowing who the offensive staff is going to be from one week to the next. But Charlie Weiss Jr. has done a really honorable job with these young men so far this run in the college football playoff.
So it is 7-3 Ole Miss. Now Miami from their 25. Beck throws right sideline, and it is a pass caught out on the left sideline by C.J. Daniels. Chris Graves was all over him that time. A 7-yard pickup on the quick pass to the right.
And once again, you see the anticipation and the accuracy of Carson Beck getting the ball out on time. And that's why Shannon Dawson can afford to throw on first down. He trusts his quarterback. Plus, they feel they can hand it to Fletcher.
What's up, Kellen? What's up, 234? NFL HD.
A run play for Fletcher. Gets a block over the middle. Has the first over the 40 and taking 3 Ole Miss defenders to the 43-yard line that time. Mark Fletcher Jr. continues to impress on the ground. He gets 11.
Fletcher is an absolute beast running the football. Antonio Kite, who is a 6-foot, 180-pound defensive back, comes up in a run fit, and all he gets is a mouthful of shoulder pad. And there's that yards after contact once again by Fletcher, which is where 67% of his yards come from.
And he's so patient for that size, so patient to fit through those little creases. From the 43, first down Miami. Play fake, Beck to throw. Stands in the pocket tall, has nothing. Tried to check it down to the flat. The flag comes out. He tried to get it to Fletcher, but he was interfered with by Suntarian Perkins, I believe, the defensive end early.
Pass interference. Defense, number 4. Ball be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Flag on Perkins, and they'll mark it at the 47-yard line.
And this is a zone blitz. So it's zone on the back end, and Perkins is an edge rusher. But he's actually dropping in the flat to cover the check down back, which is Mark Fletcher, and just arrives a little bit early. That was going to be an explosive shot. trying to get the ball in the play action pass to it. Malachi Tony on a deep over route.
I'll call you a little bit later after this
That's
game.
where you see the trust that Dawson has in Beck. He knows he'll make the right decision.
Screen pass on first down, too far out in front of Malachi Tony, who reached out for it forward. Rare miscue between those two. And it'll go incomplete second down here at 13:26 to go in the half.
And I couldn't read Carson Beck's lips after this, but that was a bad throw. That was just going to be that now screen again. You have three receivers to the right side. Malachi Tony's the inside receiver. He's just going to back off the line of scrimmage, leak to the outside, and that was just an errant pass by Carson Beck.
Canes trailing Ole Miss 7-3, second down and 10. 13 and a half to go before halftime. Beck waiting in the gun, takes the snap. Pass out is caught over the 50-yard line, and it will be close to a first, and I think he got it on the completion. That'll go to Joshua Moore, the true freshman from Miami, Florida. 11 yards on the pickup. It is a first down.
And that was a great catch. It's a stick route, so you're going to have Moore come inside. The tight end's going to the flat to try to uncover Moore, who's just going to sit down in that void of the zone. Ole Miss used to be a one-high safety team, running man-to-man all the time. Now they're 70% zone, and Moore found the void right there and made a tremendous catch.
12:50 to go, first half, over the 50-yard line. Beck under some pressure, stops. Going to throw down for Tony, who has one-on-one coverage, but he overthrows the receiver. And it'll be incomplete down to the 5-yard line. Xavier Harris getting some pressure on the quarterback that time, and Beck aired it out a little too far.
Yeah, this was designed to go outside the pocket, and Beck was cut off, and I think that's why the angle of this throw was not that good, because Tony was going out and up and had a step initially. Tony kind of throttled down a little bit, and then Beck threw this well out of bounds. That was not a good throw. Ultimately, he didn't give his receiver, Tony, a chance to catch it at all.
Second down and 10 from the plus 42. Play fake. Beck's going to run it out at the 40-yard line and tackle it at the 38-yard line. We saw Carson Beck get aggressive with the run game last week. A 3-yard gain that time. T.J. Dottery with the tackle.
And Carson Beck said during the week that he just wants the use of his legs to kind of be situational. He certainly doesn't want to make a living at it. And that was a true zone read. He's faking the inside zone. If they attack the running back, he's going to pull it, get to the edge, and he's not exactly swift of foot.
That leaves third down and 7. Miami 1 for 4, converting third down here in this first half. Snap to Beck. No pressure. Throws up the middle. Caught at the 25, first down. And it's caught by the tight end Elijah Lofton, who got hit hard by Wydett Williams after he made the 14-yard grab.
And that was that man free, they call it. Single high safety in the middle, playing a center fielder. It's man-to-man everywhere else. And Elijah Lofton won at the line of scrimmage. He's in the slot to the left, and it's all about the release he got. And then he had a guy on his backside, and Beck found him and threw the ball exactly where he needed to.
Lofton a little banged up after that big conversion. First down and 10, Miami. At the Rebel 24-yard line. Two receivers to the left. Bauman, the tight end, was moving. The snap gets by Beck. He's got to slide down to grab it at the 36-yard line. And a flag is down at the 35. There might have been movement by the tight end, Bauman, but then Mario got a timeout.
Charge timeout, Miami.
Good timeout by Mario Cristobal, who saw that play going nowhere that time. And the Ole Miss fans booing here in Arizona. So a timeout called by Miami. They're at Ole Miss 24-yard line. With 11:18 to go before halftime, it is the Rebels of Ole Miss 7 and the Miami Hurricanes 3. You're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio.
Talk defense. Football's on your screen, but peace of mind starts at home. Blink Outdoor 4 security cameras offer up to a 2-year battery life and Sync Module XR, so you can cover more space without constant maintenance. No wires, no fumbles, just easy coverage that works in the background. You've got your team on the field. Now get your defense at home. Get Blink today at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Fridays, I help you get ready for the weekend. The biggest stories of the week, as only First Take can present them. We start at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Friday, will Ole Miss be able to
continue their magical run towards the national championship, or will Miami return to a championship game for the first time since '03? It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Fridays, I help you get ready for the weekend. The biggest stories of the week, as only First Take can present them. We start at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
We're playing basketball on ESPN with big-time players. Are you not entertained? They've got talent from the front of the roster to the back. Big-time rivalries. Fight, scrap, claw. Going to put on a show tonight. And big-time games. The best of men's and women's college basketball, all in one place on ESPN and streaming on the ESPN app.
3 on the way for the win. He got it!
College Basketball Saturday on ESPN Radio. It's an SEC showdown in Gainesville.
Spins right to the baseline. He's held. The layup is good. And a chance for 3 at the line.
The 21st ranked Tennessee Vols face the Florida Gators. Number 21 Tennessee at Florida. Coverage begins Saturday morning at 11:30 Eastern. With tip-off at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. This is the College Football Playoff Semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
7-3, Ole Miss leading Miami. 11:23 to go first half. Marquez Tischer, Kelly Stauffer. Let's get some injury news from the sideline. We'll start with Chris Button.
Elijah Lofton, who took that hard hit on the reception, came over the sidelines, had trouble catching his breath, and then was coughing and spitting up blood. Could not tell if there was a cut that was causing the blood. He's in the injury tent now. Ian?
KB, starting safety for the Ole Miss Rebels, Wyatt Williams, just got some salt pellets, and they've been working on his right quad right now. He's got his helmet back on, but he's got a little hitch to his giddy-up, Dusty.
Yeah, those were the guys involved in that big collision in midfield when Miami converted a big third down. They got a 1st and 10 here at the 24. A timeout saved them from losing about 8 yards. And here's the snap out of the timeout. Beck wheels around, gets it to Shamar Brown, who pulls forward to the 21-yard line that time. A gain of about 3, and the clock will move under 11 minutes to go in the half.
Kesty, what Ian was just saying about Wyatt Williams, talking to Ole Miss before the game, they said they basically can't do without him. He has 9 pass breakups, which leads college football for anybody on the back end. So he gets around the football a ton and is typically right in the middle of the field for this defense.
One of the many transfer portal guys who went to Ole Miss and Louisiana Monroe. Here's the snap on 2nd down. Beck trying Tony in the end zone, knocked away, broken up. The defensive back, Jalen Braxton, that time had him bracketed off, and I think that ball went off his back and incomplete.
That's exactly where he went. Malachi Tony is in the slot to the left side and is running what they call a spray fade. It's basically a fade to the back corner pylon from the slot position. And it was really well covered by Jalen Braxton that time. I think it hit Braxton right in the numbers on the backside.
Sure did. Jalen Braxton, another transfer from Arkansas, his 8th consecutive start tonight at cornerback, and getting the very tough Malachi Tony assignment. Did well there. 3rd and 7 Miami. Just outside the red zone. Beck takes the snap, checks it down to Tony at the 20, grabbed by the ankle, breaks the tackle, breaks a 2nd tackle to the 15, and gets the 1st down to the 13-yard line of Ole Miss. What a set of plays by Malachi Tony. So Terrion Perkins missed on the 1st tackle, and Tony was able to come up with a big 8 yards there.
And it's a Q route as Tony starts inside like he's running a slant. He plants his foot and cues back outside. And remember what we talked about. Miami has over 2,100 yards after the catch. And there were a few more right there. That was a big conversion. And TV is showing Pete Golding, you can scheme it exactly right, but if you miss tackles, it's exactly wrong.
1st down and 10 from the 13-yard line. Give to Fletcher, pulls his way right up the middle with that big offensive line push. Got him all the way down to the 8-yard line of Ole Miss and down to Chris Button.
They had to bring out the cart for Elijah Lofton. He's on the back of it now. They originally tried to take him back to the locker room. It's on the other side of the field as he is leaving now, still spitting out blood.
Appreciate that. As Elijah Lofton with a huge reception on the conversion. But a violent collision, and one of their two outstanding tight ends, the sophomore from Las Vegas, being carted off the field as we speak. His Miami Hurricanes teammates on 2nd down and 5 from the Ole Miss 8-yard line. Snap, Beck, give Fletcher, runs into the back of one of his offensive linemen, able to recover and keep the legs moving to the 5-yard line. Jamarius Brown takes him down.
Remember how that very
down
promising
territory, it's third and
scoring
short.
drive of Miami ended last time, where you got a little cute if you're Shannon Dawson. I would believe that Mario Cristobal walks over to his offensive coordinator and says, listen, we have about a yard to gain right here. We need to run the football behind this violent offensive line of scrimmage.
3rd down and 2. Malachi Tony is on the field with double receivers on the left. Beck clapping the hands 3, 4, 5 times, takes the snap, give to Fletcher, looks for a hole, finds a crease, gets through to the 2, gets down to the 1, and his forward progress is stopped there. He had to get to the 3 for a first down, so 4 yards and a 1st and goal for the Canes.
You have to go back to what got you here. And Shannon Dawson said in the coaches' meetings yesterday with the production crew that our offensive line is the key to us winning. Quite frankly, it's why we're here. So we go forward, they go lateral. We need to push people back, and that's probably how this drive's going to end if they get it into the end zone.
1st and goal from the 1-yard line. I formation behind Beck. Takes the snap, hands it off, slipping down Shamar Brown.
Yeah!
Lose a couple of yards. They'll mark him at the 4-yard line, a loss of 3 that time. On this natural grass field here in the Dome. It's on a tray, it goes out, it gets some rain, it gets some sunshine, a Bermuda hybrid, but Shamar Brown could not hold it.
Well, on the NFL side, this track here in Arizona doesn't have a very good reputation. A lot of players on the NFL side complain about it being a slick surface, and we saw it right there with Shamar Brown.
2nd down and goal from the 4. Again, I formation. Again, give to Brown. Off the right tackle. Tries to dive for the end zone, and he's in. Touchdown. Touchdown, Miami. 4 yards for Shamar Brown, and the Canes have answered to take the lead right back.
Behind that offensive line, that's the key to Miami winning. We talked about that. It was interesting, Kesty, that Mark Fletcher was not in there on this kind of finishing drive into the end zone, and they're taking a look at this, but certainly I believe Brown was actually on one of his own teammates as he rolled over into the end zone.
That's the backup center, Seo Alofi Tuli, who wears 83 as a fullback, and you're right, he plowed the way and then allowed Shamar Brown to roll over him and dive into the end zone for a touchdown, and the extra point is good by Carter Davis. 7:09 to go, 2nd quarter, Miami back in front. They lead Ole Miss 10-7. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
If you're an HVAC technician and a call comes in, Grainger knows that you need a partner that helps you find the right product, fast and hassle-free. And you know that when the first problem of the day is a clanking blower motor, there's no need to break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product details, you're confident you'll soon have everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The college football playoff semifinals continue. Tomorrow in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
I get questions, how are you going to sustain it? We're not looking to sustain it. We're looking to improve it.
The Indiana Hoosiers face the Oregon Ducks.
Touchdown, Oregon! The magic continues!
The college football playoff semifinals. Tomorrow at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Listening to the college football playoff semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden, our entire ESPN Radio crew. 10-7, Miami leads Ole Miss, 7:09 to go, 2nd quarter. And Fitzy, while Miami just used 7 minutes and 41 seconds on their scoring drive, before that, Kejuan Lacey, one big burst, 73 yards for a touchdown, but you've had your eyes on Lacey.
And Ole Miss trainers, Mark, have been working on his right hamstring. They actually put a balm on it and then also put a wrap on it. So that is obviously something to keep an eye on when it comes to the Rebels star running back in Kejuan Lacey. Now for an update with Miami, over to their sideline with Chris Button. PB?
Ian, one of the things that this Ole Miss staff recognized on film is that sometimes there can be some friction between offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson and head coach Mario Cristobal for Miami, that sometimes Mark gives a little talking to of some of the play calling. And you saw some of the cuteness that didn't work early in this one, Kelly. That one much more of a methodical drive in the play calling by Shannon Dawson.
I think that's exactly what happened on that drive. I think Mario Cristobal went and got in the ear of Shannon Dawson and said, listen, we need to flex on this Ole Miss defense. There were 15 plays on that drive. 8 of them were on the ground for 30 yards, but the key was when they got in deep red zone, that ball was not going in the air, and the result was Miami was able to get it in the end zone.
Well,
Philosophical friction.
Philosophical friction. I love that description.
Let's just agree that you and I and our reporters on the sideline.
Shout out to everyone watching. I appreciate you guys.
Let's try to get through it that
Miami
way
up
as the
10
Miami
to
kickoff
7.
punter will sail out the back of the end zone for a touchback. Time of possession way in advance for Miami. Nearly 20 minutes, 19 minutes, 49 seconds. Ole Miss has possessed it for 3 minutes and 2 seconds, but Ole Miss has only run 8 plays so far, 34 to Miami. One of those 8 plays was the 73-yard touchdown run by Kejuan Lacey, and he will not answer the bell for this series as Logan Diggs, the 6-foot senior from Louisiana, started at Notre Dame, went to LSU, and now at Ole Miss is on the field in powder blue for the Rebels.
Yeah, and what Fitz said about Lacey is massive because Lacey is kind of that attitude in the run game, and Ole Miss wants to run the football, even though they also want to go really, really fast.
Chambliss now waiting in the gun. First down and 10. Motion on the left side. Snap to Chambliss, a play fake. Chambliss looking to throw. Will throw it to the flat right side. It's Diggs has it out of the 25-yard line. Stays in bounds at the 30 and is able to get a few extra yards. Now they'll rule him out at the 31-yard line. Logan Diggs will pick up 6 there.
And Logan Diggs is probably a little faster of foot, but he's also a better receiver out of the backfield. So that's exactly what Ole Miss goes to right there.
Going fast here with 6:45 to go in the half. Second down and about 3. It'll be a handoff. Diggs finds his way. First down, right side over the 35-yard line and down to the 37-yard line for 5 yards for Diggs.
Tempo teams talk about it's all about getting the first down on the drive, and now we've had that for Ole Miss, and we'll see if they can go fast and do something with this drive right here.
Dejon Stribling flanked out all the way to the left on the wide side of the field. 2 receivers to the right. Snap to Chambliss. Again, fakes the pass. Now will throw it downfield. Looking for Stribling. Incomplete, overthrown left sideline with Ethan O'Connor trailing him down that left sideline. 2 flags, though, down at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, this is going to be a late hit, I think, delivered on Trinidad Chambliss.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense,
Oh, yeah.
number 5, 15-yard penalty, first down.
I want to bring in Chris Button if we can, because she brought up a good point during one of our timeouts earlier. The penalties, that was an issue, Chris, wasn't it, earlier this season when they struggled in those 2 losses?
Yeah, between that SMU and Louisville losses in 3 weeks, they were one of the most penalized teams in the country. And that was Mario Cristobal's frustration, was all of these things are self-inflicted wounds that had gotten much better by the end of the season.
15-yard penalty. Ball spotted ahead of the 50 to the 47-yard line of Miami for Ole Miss. 2 receivers each way. Diggs off the right hip of Chambliss, who takes the snap, throws one up the numbers, caught out of the 50-yard line. That is Trey Wallace, who had a career-high 9 catches and 156 yards last week in the win over Georgia. He gets 20 there.
And you can see the rhythm of this drive, and Ole Miss is intending to go as fast as the officiating will allow right now.
From the 27-yard line, 3 receivers to the right. There's the snap. Quick pass out to the right side, caught by Winston Watkins. Breaks 1 tackle at the 30 rather, and gets out to the 25-yard line. Ethan O'Connor did not get the initial tackle, and a 2-yard gain. Keontae Scott got him down. Ole Miss running tempo here. Second down and 7. Ball spotted at the 25-yard line. Snap Chambliss. This time Diggs gets it. Bumps off one defender. That was Scott right at the line of scrimmage, and Mike got another yard. We'll give him no gain that time. Keontae Scott, who was the Cotton Bowl defensive MVP.
And Keontae Scott is the versatile chess piece on the back end for Miami. He'll play at the line of scrimmage. He'll play in coverage. And that time, I believe if it was a read, Chambliss should have kept that ball and got outside of Scott to the right side.
Instead, 3rd and 7 for the Rebels at Miami's 25-yard line. Snap to Chambliss, pressure coming, rolls back to the 40-yard line to the right, near the sideline, throws it away, had nothing. Good defense by Miami that time, and it's 4th down. Ahmad Moten Sr. that time applying the pressure.
And Moten Sr. took a really good angle. You're not going to chase down, if you're a 300-pounder, you're not going to chase down Trinidad Chambliss. So instead, he took a flat angle, didn't let him get upfield, and
fans reacting, the Ole Miss fans reacting to that push in the back by Moten Sr. on the quarterback. Was it late?
I think it was late. I think Chambliss was clearly out of bounds in the white and went headlong into the Miami bench.
Lucas Canero is on for a field goal. This will be a 42-yarder. He's got a great leg. Puts this one right between the pipes from 42 yards away. And Ole Miss has tied the game at 10. Much better offense by Ole Miss, deliberately downfield. They settle for 3, but they've tied the game with 4:38 to go second quarter. Rebels 10, Miami Hurricanes 10. This is the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Basketball Saturday on ESPN Radio. It's an SEC showdown in Gainesville.
Spins right to the baseline. He's fouled. The layup is good, and a chance for 3 at the line.
The 21st ranked Tennessee Vols face the Florida Gators. Number 21 Tennessee at Florida. Coverage begins Saturday morning at 11:30 Eastern with tip-off at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
Hey, it's Greg McElroy from the Always College Football Podcast. Check out our current episode where we preview the College Football Playoff semifinals and give you a little look into the transfer portal. Download it anywhere you get your podcast.
Evan Canty and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Like Sam Darnold's got to prove to me that he's a big-time quarterback. He has more wins in the regular season the last 2 years than anybody, and that's across 2 different teams. 28 wins. The next closest is Josh Allen with 25.
Hey, what's up,
Josh
Carter?
Allen has an MVP during that span.
How you doing,
it's
bro?
just ridiculous to sit here and box Sam Darnold into the guy that was seen ghost.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. Football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Nah, we just got a tie game right now. Hoping that Ole Miss can pull it out.
4 minutes, 38 seconds to go in our first
Get to
half
this final.
from State Farm Stadium in Arizona. First, we're going to pause 10 seconds for station ID. You're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden, our entire ESPN
Yeah, I'd
radio
like Ole
team.
Miss to
Thank you
win,
for tuning
right?
in
Kind
wherever
of stick
you
it
may
to
be
Lane
listening.
Kiffin.
The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl
They had their
tomorrow night,
coach
our other
lose and then
semifinal. Indiana
try to
unbeaten
win
against
that
Oregon.
championship.
7 Eastern time. Dave Pasch, Dusty Dvorak, Alyssa Lang, Quinn Kesnick will be on the call on that one. Much better offense by Ole Miss. Obviously, they had
I
the
think a lot
lightning
of people
strike for
root for
Kewan
Ole Miss.
Lacey, but they go downfield and end up with 3 points on that last drive.
Yeah, Ole Miss has only run 40, or
Not a
excuse me,
big
14
Kiffin fan.
plays today, and 7 of them were on that last drive. But Miami defensively keeping Ole Miss out of the end zone is a huge win.
Garnero with that huge leg on the kickoff sends it way over the head of Keelan Marion in the end zone for another touchback. And now Miami will take over here with Carson Beck and company. Beck 10 of 14, 82 yards. Mark Fletcher Jr. is running 10 times for 48. They've gotten really good work out of Shamar Brown, their backup running back so far tonight as well. He has scored the lone Miami touchdown.
If we go back to the Styles make fights comment, and you would have to say that Miami's style is winning out right now. One of the keys that Charlie Weiss Jr. talked about for Ole Miss offensively, they wanted this to be a high snap game. And they have the opposite of high snaps. They've had 4 drives and only 14 plays.
Mark Fletcher in a running back out of the pistol. Beck will hand it off to Fletcher off the left side, and he is knocked down at the 26-yard line. T.J. Daugherty. He's the green dot. The linebacker sets everything up, got the tackle after 1 yard.
Yeah, Pete Golding told us that Daugherty really has to have a big night. He has to see it right and call it right because he has to communicate a lot of things, and they also have to be patient on the defensive side because Carson Beck doesn't make many mistakes, and we talked about it. He's been incredibly accurate.
Second down and 9. Beck short pass. The right side is caught by Keelan Marion and immediately dropped by Chris Graves that time after a gain of 4.
And Marion catches this ball quickly. Miami uses a lot of bunch formations, and then they scatter at the snap. Marion goes outside wide, and Carson Beck gets him the football quickly, and the goal is to get those coveted yards after the catch, but that was a really good tackle that time by Ole Miss.
Hey, what's up, Hazel?
Converted 4 out of their 7 third downs, but now facing
Tie game right now.
at their own 30-yard line.
Hurricanes 10, Rebels 10.
Left. 1 to the right, snap to Beck. Beck's going to throw left, wide open catch at the 40. Marion turns up the right sideline and is out of bounds at about the 44-yard line. Chris Graves that time in coverage.
And that was just too easy. Graves was giving up too much ground. 3 receivers to that side. The tight end, Alex Bowman, was kind of motioning out late and created that trips formation. And then it's a quick out route, or actually a 10-yard, what they call a boat route. And there was way too much softness in coverage that time.
3 minutes to go here in this first half in a 10-10 game. First down and 10 Miami at their own 40-yard line. 3 receivers tight to the left. Quick pass to the left from Beck. Caught by Bob in the tight end. Trying to work his way, and he's out of bounds after a 3-yard gain out to about the 47-yard line. Taj Chambers on the tackle.
Kesty, consider where Carson Beck was just several months ago. He was throwing the ball around for Georgia. He was taking on water because he was beat up. We now know that elbow that Chris talked about was injured, but it was bombs away, and now he's become more of a point guard.
Second down and 6 here. Beck bouncing, now rolls out to his right. He's going to throw one downfield, looking for Marion open. He's got him on a post at the 10 and into the end zone for a touchdown.
Wow, touchdown,
52 yards from Carson Beck, who's come back from that elbow injury and has given Miami the lead.
And so much for the dink and dunk. That time they're actually moving Carson Beck out of the pocket. Anticipatory play calling by Shannon Dawson, changing the launch point, anticipating the pressure, and Beck gets outside, and then it's just a drop coverage because Keelan Marion started clear on the opposite side of the field. By the time he got in view of Beck on the right side, he was absolutely uncovered.
Carson Beck, the number 1 active FBS passer, well over 11,000 passing yards as Carter Davis pumps through the extra point. 52-yard touchdown pass, 17-10 in favor of Miami, and Beck had plenty of time to watch downfield.
Yeah, and Ole Miss starts in a 2-high coverage, and then they're actually going to double out of the secondary, and the safety on that side jumps the tight end, Alex Bowman, and leaves the middle of the field wide open, and that's exactly where Marion goes to, and Beck had a little bit of time, and it wasn't actually a designed move of the pocket. He got pressure from the backside and then threw the ball deep.
Keelan Marion, 6'5" fifth-year senior from Atlanta, Georgia, began his college career at UConn, went to BYU for a couple of seasons, and now in Miami, and trying to lead the Hurricanes to a national championship game in their own home stadium. They've taken a 17-10 lead here with 2:18 to go in the first half.
And just imagine that story. If Miami can get back to Miami for the national championship game. Remember, they're not supposed to be here, Kessie. They're supposed to be Notre Dame out here running around if you had some of the national narrative, but nonetheless, Miami's playing as well as anybody.
Kickoff pounded out the back of the end zone to our right. I don't think anybody's returning a kickoff today with these two legs.
Absolutely.
Well, we called the ACC championship in Charlotte, and Miami was not there. That was Virginia against Duke. There was a very convoluted tiebreaker system. Miami lost out on that tiebreaker, and one would think they're not the only conference that doesn't have their highest-ranked team playing in their conference championship game. Many will fix that, if not the ACC, because they had to sweat a little bit. Remember Carson Beck telling us about 3 weeks ago about trying to sleep the night before the selection on the Sunday?
He hosted a watch party, and then he couldn't even watch the television at his own party. And obviously they got here, and that emotion of proving that we belong here has been really, really powerful thus far.
2:18 to go in the half. Ole Miss will start at its own 25-yard line. Chambliss going to throw to the sideline, going down to a knee, and making the catch is tight end Caleb Odom. About 4 yards off the line of scrimmage. He'll get a 4-yard gain there. 2nd and 6 coming. Again, the pace by Ole Miss. They're going to get a snap before the 2-minute timeout. No, they're going to try to draw Miami offside again, but this time everybody held their water, and we have hit the 2-minute timeout with Miami leading Ole Miss 17-10. And down on that Miami sideline, let's check in with Chris Button.
You know, you talk about that selection show, and I was in Miami's building during it, and it was a team that they knew if they could just get the chance to get in, what they could do and how this team developed down the stretch. And that includes what they've seen from Carson Beck. Kelly mentioned it, the surgery that he had in repairing the UCL. When I talked to him midway through the season, he said, you know, my concern was it never felt the same. It didn't hurt. When I throw the ball, it never felt the same way it did pre-surgery. And Kelly, you've talked about it as a quarterback. Sometimes if your shoes are on too tight, that bothers you. Imagine how that felt, him trying to throw the ball and having it not feel the same that it used to, showing off what that arm can do today, certainly. Over to Ole Miss with Ian.
Well, I'm curious to see Kelly's reaction to what you just said, KB, first of all. But Ole Miss's star running back, Kewan Lacey, is nursing a right hamstring injury. He's had balm put on it, had a wrap put on it. He's tested it. Was not in on that last series. That's also something, Kelly and Kesty, to keep an eye on. Right now, he does have his helmet on, asked for a new set of gloves. We might see Lacey back in there for Ole Miss.
And first, to Fitz's point, Lacey did not look right on that last drive. He did not look powerful like he typically does. But what KB talked about, I can't imagine actually getting that surgery as a quarterback and expecting it to feel right. So I totally understand what Carson Beck is talking about. And ironically, it was what Chris was talking about, that SMU game. Even though they lost the game, Carson Beck said, I came out of that game feeling like I was able to rip it. And it may not have felt exactly like it used to, but the point is, I was ripping it. And he went forward with that confidence, and he's been playing lights out ever since.
No, it's been impressive. More injury news for Ole Miss from earlier in the game. Andrew Jones, starting linebacker, is back on the field, but in crutches. So he has done right leg injury for Ole Miss as we come down to the final stretch of the season. Both these teams, great stories, reaching the semifinal. Miami's got the 17-10 lead over Ole Miss. Tomorrow night, 2 Big Ten teams will go at it. Indiana and Oregon in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl on ESPN Television and here on ESPN Radio beginning at Eastern, 4 Pacific. That should be a whale of a game as well tomorrow.
I think those two teams, Indiana and Oregon, are the most complete teams left in the college football playoff. Obviously, Miami has a championship defense. I'm not so sure Miami against the Oregon or Indiana defense can be this methodical and this efficient offensively. Although, how many times has Carson Beck been proving people wrong even with that elbow surgery?
Oregon and Indiana will meet for the second time this season. The Hoosiers won in Eugene back in mid-season. We're at the 2-minute timeout, which is about to end. It is 17-10 Miami leading the Rebels, who have the line of scrimmage at their own 29-yard line. 2nd down and 6 as we resume play. Again, Logan Diggs in the backfield. Trinidad Chambliss, D2 champ a year ago. Snap, handoff. Little hesitation, move and run past the line of scrimmage and over the 30-yard line to about the 33. We'll give Diggs 3 yards there. Wesley Basaint, the middle linebacker, with the Hurricane tackle.
And that Miami defense is violent and real at every level. We talked about Mesidor and Bain, but it's much more than that. They are really good on the back end in coverage also.
Well, the Miami defense has not allowed Ole Miss to convert a third down. This is 3rd and 2. Direct snap this time, and Diggs hit hard by Basaint, and he's going to get no gain. Miami's defense read that one, and the senior
what's up, Darren?
from Miami, Florida, Wesley Basaint with the tackle, 4th down.
And Miami uses
It's
one
live,
of their
radio
timeouts
play-by-play.
with about a minute 24 left. They're hoping to get the ball back right here. I would imagine that Ole Miss is going to punt the football, but that's where you see the violence. It's the edges, of course, but it's much more than that. The guys from the secondary with this Corey Heatherman defense will come up and strike you in those run fits also.
That's a great point. Corey Heatherman is a Broyles Award finalist. He helped the Minnesota Golden Gophers to an outstanding defense, and what he's done in Miami, lowering their points per game allowed from 25 down to 13. And also Jason Taylor, the Hall of Famer, who is the defensive line assistant coach, has done a great job with this crew as well.
And it's also Tony Lewis, the defensive tackle coach, also that, I mean, it's the intricacies that they have on the defensive side. It's the level of experience they have in coaching. And that's the way this defense plays. They're incredibly well coached, and there just really isn't a weakness at any of those levels on the defensive side for Miami.
Oscar Bird is on to punt for Ole Miss at his own 20-yard line. Punts it from right to left, a wobbler, and Tony's going to catch it. Fair catch at the 25-yard line. As you pointed out, Canes have one timeout remaining. 41-yard punt, no return. A minute 19 to go in the half, with a 17-10 lead over Ole Miss.
And it's Damian Lewis that coaches those defensive tackles. So think of that. You have those edge rushers that are the number, I think, 2 and 3 rated edge rushers on Mel Kiper's big board. And then you have defensive tackles that are at least 4 deep that will strike the run game also. So couple that with coverage on the back end, and that's why Miami has a chance to win it all this year.
From the 25-yard line with one timeout in their pocket, a minute 19 to go in the half and a 7-point lead. Beck in the gun, 2 receivers left, 1 to the right. Beck takes the snap, drops back, hit hard. Prince Will, Uman Mielen that time gets the sack.
Let's go.
The younger brother of Princely, who played at Ole Miss last year in an 8-yard loss.
And Carson Beck got caught looking at the wrong thing too long. There was pressure up the middle. There was miscommunication on the offensive line of scrimmage, which Miami's offensive line typically is really buttoned up in terms of communicating, but Amon Mielen was able to get to the quarterback. I think he was trying to go to the tight end, was Carson Beck. It was covered. You got to get off it and go somewhere else more quickly than that.
Ole Miss going to use one of their 3 timeouts here with 1:13 to go, maybe feeling they can get Miami off the field here quickly with 14 seconds to go here before halftime. A 17-10 Hurricanes lead.
Kesty, what's interesting, we talked about the whole Lane Kiffin thing and how bizarre it is, and Pete Golding. Let's not lose track of the decision-making that Pete Golding has had to do in the college football playoff already. And he's been incredibly buttoned up. I really like this decision. 2nd and 18 after that sack on Carson Beck. Go ahead and burn one of your timeouts. You have a quick strike, very fast offense anyway, so hope to give them more touches before the halftime.
1:14 on the clock. 2nd down and 18. Uman Mielen, that was his 9th sack of the season. He leads Ole Miss. From the 17, snap, handoff, Brown, who runs right into the middle of the pile, and we'll get to about the 19-yard line for 2, and will Ole Miss use another timeout here with 1:10 to go? It looks like they will.
Yeah, Pete Golding was sprinting down the sideline to call that immediately, so it'll be 3rd and 16, a minute 10. So if you can play defense right here and get Carson Beck and company off the field, we've already seen in the college football playoff, Trinidad Chambliss and this go-fast offense does not need a lot of time at times.
Yeah, their touchdown scoring drive was 2 plays. And the 73-yard run by Kewan Lacey, who on that run, apparent injury of the right hamstring. And now it'll be 3rd and 16 coming out of this timeout, Kelly.
Kesty, one of the keys that we talked about with Charlie Weiss Jr., he wanted this to be a high snap game to try to tire out that Miami defense because they don't sub a lot. Out of 59 plays against Georgia, Bain and Mesidor played 53 of them. So they don't sub a lot. And right now, Ole Miss only has 17 plays in the entire half. That's insane.
1:10 to go in the half, 3rd and 16 for Miami. Tony will motion to the left side. Snap back, handoff, Brown cuts up the middle, gets over the 20, stays on his feet to the 23, and now will be gang tackled when they blow the whistle at 1:02 to go, and Ole Miss can use their 3rd and final timeout here with Miami facing 4th down. And they will take that timeout with 62 seconds to go in the half.
And that
I'm
play
get this
call
ball back with about
was all
50
about
seconds
forcing Ole Miss to use their last
to go in the
timeout.
half.
Keep it on the ground. Don't risk an incomplete pass, which obviously would stop the clock. And once again, I could see Pete Golding that was running with the football to see if Miami was going to get close to that line to gain. When he saw that it was going to be 4th down, that's when he popped his 3rd timeout.
Down to Ian Fitzsimmons.
Every Ole Miss coach, guys, offensive side, defensive side, screaming out of the defense, no penalties. They're running it, no penalties. That was discipline. Now that Ole Miss is punting, let's see what Ole Miss can do. Miami's punting. Let's see what Ole Miss can do on offense.
Yep, they'll have about a minute or so. We'll see what happens on this punt return. Dylan Joyce will punt for Miami. The tips of his feet right on the 10-yard line. And Trey Wallace waiting back at about the 35. Here comes the punt. It is away. It is high. It is spinning. And making the fair catch is Wallace at about the 32-yard line. A 44-yard punt, no return, 55 seconds to go in the half. But as you pointed out, Kelly, Ole Miss had to use all their timeouts to save clock, and now we'll have to work without one here to end this first half.
Well, they don't have to really get in 2-minute mode because they live there offensively. So they're certainly accustomed to that. And they even train their ball carriers, their wide receivers, how to get the ball back in play, get it to the official. Don't just let the ball set on the ground. All of those things are scripted, and they literally practice those during the week, and so they know how to go fast, no question.
Logan Diggs remains in at running back. 1st down and 10 from the 31-yard line. 55 seconds to go in the half, trailing Miami by 7. Good change of play here for Trinidad Chambliss, who's waiting in the gun. 3 receivers to the right, dribbling to the left. There's the snap. Chambliss looking, looks left in the flat caught. Diggs spinning to get it 30, breaks a tackle, 35-yard line out of bounds at about the 35-yard line that time on the short pass of 4 yards.
And the key, obviously, is Diggs with the broken tackle was able to get out of bounds because, remember, Ole Miss has no timeouts at this point in time.
Keem Mesidor could not get the tackle inbounds. 46 seconds to go. 2nd down and 6 for Ole Miss. Same formation, 3 receivers right, 1 to the left. Diggs off the left hip of Chambliss. Waiting in the gun patiently, waiting on the snap. Now claps the hands once. On the second, they snap the ball. 3-step drop, fires up the seam, caught and immediately tackled inbounds that time, Trey Wallace. And it will be a 1st down, so that'll stop the clock momentarily to reset the chains, gain of 9. Remember, they don't have to go tremendously far for Carnero to get in field goal range. He had a couple of mid-50-yarders. Clock restarted. 37 seconds to go. Pass out to the sideline, caught, and right out of bounds at the 50-yard line is Trey Wallace with 32 seconds to go in the half.
And a masterful job of the 2-minute offense thus far. Wallace was literally setting almost out of bounds. He was lined up out there to begin with, so he becomes the check-down receiver, and Chambliss got it out there in a hurry.
Got to get to about the 39-yard line to get it into field goal range. They're at the plus 49, so about 10 yards away. 2nd down and 3 with 30 seconds to go in the half. Chambliss fires. It's Caden Lee with the catch right to the 40 inbounds. 26 seconds to go in the half. Down to Fitzy.
45-yard line is what Jake Schoonover, the special teams coordinator for Ole Miss, said is their range. End of half, end of game.
They are in range as they'll get right up to the ball and clock it here with 24 seconds to go in the half from the 40-yard line. The benefit of having a leg like Lucas Carnero, who in his career is 9 of 10 from 50-plus, including a couple in their Sugar Bowl win over Georgia last week.
Kessie, we were down on the field before the game watching Carnero, and the ball explodes off of his foot. It's quite the thing to see.
Second down and 10 from the plus 40, and a timeout called by Miami, which had one remaining, as Mario Cristobal and company want to make sure they are ready defensively here. With 24 seconds to go, and the Canes leading it 17-10, and back downstairs we go on the Ole Miss sideline with Ian Fitzsimmons.
Mark, and Kelly, you just mentioned it. He's got a cannon for a leg, but my brother Devin Fitzsimmons, he coaches special teams with Jay Harbaugh for the Seattle Seahawks, and I asked him, when do you know that you have a guy that can just launch it? And he said, it's not how it looks, it's how it sounds.
Absolutely.
And Kelly, when you hear 17 kick the ball, it's like a cannon was hit.
Fitz, if you've ever gone to a major league game and watched batting practice,
that's it.
There's a
and those
sound.
big boppers that
sound
just,
different.
You know, Judge hitting the ball sounds different than every other human. Well, that's the way the ball sounds off of this young man's foot. It's different than most kickers that you will watch kick the football.
He had a 55 and a 56-yarder last week. Of course, his 47-yarder came with 6 seconds to go in the win over Georgia. Right now, 24 seconds to go in the half. Second down and 10. Ole Miss at the Miami 40-yard line. Caden Lee motions on the left. Chambliss back to pass. Throws, and it is nearly picked off. Oh, that nearly got picked off by Dylan Day off his hands. The backup free safety from Baton Rouge nearly came up with a pick.
And Trinidad Chambliss had to get this ball off because Reuben Bain was coming around the edge to the backside of the quarterback, and that ball actually should have gone to the shorter receiver. I think that time Chambliss was throwing to the deep out, and he should have just been banging it to the running back sitting outside.
Well, third down and 10 off the incomplete with 19 seconds to go in the half. Shotgun snap, Chambliss throws, it is dropped. That time it was Odom again. It was trying to get the catch and get out of bounds, but it's incomplete, and now we will bring in the long-legged Lucas Carnero for a field goal attempt here. They were at the 40-yard line, so this will be placed down at about the 47-48, which would make it a 58-yard attempt. We'll see where they mark it officially. Told you his career high is 56, one of the two 50-plus yard field goals he hit last week against Georgia. This is from 58 yards away. Bird waiting to hold it. Snap, placement, the kick is up. It is on its way, and it is good! 58 yards for Lucas Carnero. A new career high for the Ole Miss kicker, and they get 3 before halftime.
And Fitzy, I don't know if you would agree with me, but it actually looked like Lucas Carnero got under that ball a little bit. The rotation seemed to be a little aggressive. But that ball could have gone through for, what, another 15 yards out, something like that?
See, NFL kickers go 60-plus regularly, and this young man from North Carolina, Lucas Carnero's got that kind of leg. As Ole Miss able to add 3 points on the board. Good use of the 3 timeouts in the chess match previously.
That was picturesque as far as a short time scoring drive. And Trinidad Chambliss, even though he won a national championship at Ferris and has played really well in the college football playoff, you know, the young man doesn't have exactly a ton of experience at this level, but he looked like a veteran on that last drive.
Yeah, he looks like he belongs in a very short period of time. And now Carnero will tee it up at the 35-yard line. We have 11 seconds to go in the half. Keelan Marion waiting deep. And the kick is a line drive. Is that going to go out of bounds? It will. It's going to be a penalty, and that's going to give Miami ball a good drive start with 11 seconds to go here in the half, and down to Fitzy.
Kick Kelly, you were bounds. 5-yard line, first down.
Kelly, you were spot on. He did not strike that ball very well at all. It didn't sound right. It didn't look right. And it still would have been good from 65.
Yeah, I think at least. You're exactly right. So imagine if he actually hits it. And I thought Miami might actually try to make hay with 11 seconds of the ball going out of bounds, but it looks like they're just going to take a knee and be happy being up 17-13 going into halftime in this Fiesta Bowl.
And Miami will receive the second half kick, so Beck will take a knee, and that's the half of it here in this first CFP semifinal with Oregon and Indiana on deck tomorrow. The Miami Hurricanes with a 17-13 lead over Ole Miss as we have reached halftime here in Glendale, Arizona. Now we turn it over to Jim Basquill in the studio with the halftime report.
All right, Kesty, thanks so much. Trinidad Chambliss coming off throwing for 362 against Georgia. His 8th game of 300-plus pass yards this season, held to 71 yards through the air in the opening half. Coming up next in the College Football Live halftime report, Dusty Dvorak joins us with a look ahead at Oregon, Indiana. This is the College Football Playoff semifinal, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tell me who could do it like this.
Saturday on SEC Network.
Show you how it's done.
SEC men's basketball from legendary Rupp Arena.
Guys, make sure you subscribe. We got Indiana, Oregon tomorrow, same time, 7:30 Eastern.
Ortega Oweh and the Kentucky Wildcats. Wow, Oweh the finish. Mississippi State at Kentucky, Saturday at 8:30 Eastern on SEC Network and the ESPN app.
Earlier on Clinton and Friends.
Woody in North Carolina, what's up?
I know Courtney Cronin's a huge Hoosier fan, but they could make a shirt that says Hoosier Daddy and sell that and make a fortune.
I imagine that there's quite a few people that have Hoosier Daddy shirts that are already made, Devin.
If you Google Hoosier Daddy, there's like 95 shirts that come up. Shirts, sweatshirts, sandals.
Clinton and Friends, weekdays from 10 to noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Rich Eisen Show.
Liam Cohen, everybody, when you refer to the Bills, can you do me a favor and say not bad for a small market team?
Why would you do that to him, Rich? Come on now.
Just do me that favor.
The Mafia's not going to hear that, man. There's no sound. I'm not giving them any of that, man.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have completely flipped the script, and they are hosting the small market Buffalo Bills. I'll keep doing it.
The Rich Eisen Show from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, and on Disney Plus.
Chris, the big story on the Ole Miss sideline is their star running back, Kewan Lacey. After that long touchdown run, about the 10-yard line, you saw a little hitch in his run and his gait. He looked over his right shoulder, finished the touchdown, came over the sideline, and it's his right hamstring. I'm watching him sprint up and down the sideline right now. Now he has a long black sleeve on his right leg. Kesty, Kelly, and Pete Golding, head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels, told me he should be available for the second half. Golding also said, and Kelly, this is right up your alley, our star players with a national championship berth on the line have to play better than they did in the first half.
I would agree with all of that. And so Trinidad Chambliss didn't really have a big opportunity to do his Houdini act. But I want to go to Kewan Lacey. He has almost 1,500 yards coming into this game. He has 23 touchdowns. So he's the volume yards guy, and he's also the finisher of drives, and he's the attitude in the run game. And so that is a huge missing piece if Lacey is not right. We'll see how he responds in the second half.
Well, as you heard Chris Button mention, the Miami Hurricanes going to receive the second half kick in the end zone to our right. Keelan Marion is waiting. 17-13, Miami leads Ole Miss. Third quarter about to get underway here in the first of two college football playoff semifinals. Indiana and Oregon will play tomorrow night in Atlanta, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, ESPN Television, and here on ESPN Radio. Lucas Carnero at the 58-yard field goal late in the first half. Boots one again way past. I mean, we're talking like 5-6 yards past the back line.
I think that went through the upright.
It might have gone through the upright from there. It'll be a touchback, and we will see Carson Beck and Miami start this drive at the 25-yard line. Beck, 14 of 18, 156 yards in the first half, 52 of them on that touchdown pass to Keelan Marion. Mark Fletcher and Shamar Brown did most of the running in the first half. Fletcher, 11 carries for 49 yards. Brown, 8 carries for 28 and a touchdown. Fletcher will be in the backfield with Beck. Off his left hip snap, Fletcher gets the call on first down, cuts up the right hash to the 25 and pass to the 28-yard line for 3 yards as we get this second half underway. Centurion Perkins and Taj Chambers with the Ole Miss tackle.
Kesty, what Chris Button told us about the ability for Miami to score on this drive, it's really an attitude drive. How you come out in the second half and establish your ability to run the football again is exactly what they did on that play. It was a duo kind of violent run downhill inside the tackle box.
Second down and 7, trying to get Marion, who was engaged with the cornerback and then tried to make a catch with a right hand. Incomplete. Chris Graves Jr. there covering him defensively. It's third down.
And Marion was running a curl route outside, and Graves Jr. got away with a holding call. He reached with the left hand, which was fine, but what the official did not see, he was holding the receiver and impeding his ability to get back to the football with his right hand.
Miami Kelly was 5 of 9 on third down in the first half. This is 3rd and 7. The Ole Miss fans making some noise here. Want a defensive stop. Carson Beck killing the first play, runs up to the line, has 3 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. It's a quick pass to Tony in the slot. Gets a nice clear-out block to the 35, first down to the 40, and up over the 45-yard line. Markel Bell, a great kick-out block on the left side to aid the hole in a gain of 14.
Markel Bell is 6'9", 350 pounds. And so picture this. You bang it out to Malachi Tony outside, and then the big tackle has to get out there quickly and almost annihilate a little defensive back, and he did it just in time. That was impressive.
Minute gone by here in this third quarter. First down and 10 Miami. They're at the 47-yard line. Snap, play fake. Beck loading up. Beck's going to take a shot down the right side. One-on-one coverage. Looking for C.J. Daniels. Incomplete. Off the fingertips. And Graves again defensively. This time on the other side of the field. Very handsy, but no flag.
Yeah, he's handsy on C.J. Daniels once again. Chris Graves seems to be the guy that Miami wants to go at in that pass game.
That's 2 in a row he's gotten away with.
Absolutely. That was actually pushing Daniels to the ground on the go ball outside. Malachi Tony takes the safety inside, and then Daniels is free man-to-man outside, and Graves should have gotten called with back-to-back pass interference calls.
Instead, 2nd and 10 Canes. 17-13 lead from their 47-yard line. Snap to Beck, give to Fletcher. Up the middle, gets through into the second level, pushes the pile forward, and continues to push. First down and much more to the 35-yard line of Ole Miss. Wow, and Mark Fletcher Jr. put him down and carry the defense with him. Got 19 yards.
And that big offensive line was eventually pushing Mark Fletcher, who is a big man. He's 6'2", 225. He's a violent runner, and then he stays up. The offensive line gets behind him, and they get an additional, Kesty, 7 or 8 yards
at least
in that scrum.
Fletcher, the Fort Lauderdale native, goes over 1,000 rushing yards for the season, and it's first down and 10 Miami at the 34-yard line of Ole Miss. Pistol formation, snap back, a flea flicker. And Beck under pressure tries to throw it away. A floater that gets out of bounds on the right sideline. And a flag goes down. Was he not outside of the tackle box? A discussion going on right now. TJ Dottery that time with the pressure.
And did the ball go past the line of grounding? Offense number 11 relinquished the ball and therefore is not granted the opportunity to legally ground the ball. Lost it down, spotted the foul. Second down. There it is. So once he hands the ball off to Fletcher on the flea flicker, he loses all of the things that apply to the quarterback when he gets that pitch back. So it didn't matter what happened at that point in time, and he gets called for intentional grounding.
12-yard loss. 12:48 to go. Third quarter. 17-13 in favor of Miami. Hurricanes ball now spotted back to the plus 46. It'll be 2nd and 22. 2 receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Beck in the gun. Fletcher off his right hip. Hand off to Fletcher. Gets 45. Breaks free at the 40. And in the secondary, finally gets taken down over the 35-yard line by Chris Graves Jr. That'll be a gain of 9, and it'll make it third down and about 9.
The ability that a play caller like Shannon Dawson has to go for the trick play, the flea flicker on the play before, and it doesn't work. You end up big time behind the chains at 2nd and 22, but you can run the football and get into 3rd and somewhat more manageable at 3rd and 9.
Antonio Kite, cornerback, just went out for Ole Miss. Ricky Fletcher replaces him. 3rd down and about 8. Snap to Beck. Short drop. Throws right sideline, and it is incomplete. Again, Chris Graves Jr. covering. C.J. Daniels, the intended receiver.
It's no question that Miami wants to go after Graves. Graves wasn't really even in man-to-man coverage. Daniels is running that turn route again outside and didn't run a very good route. You have to drive off of your stem at the top of that route and get back to your quarterback, and Daniels kind of lost his footing there.
Carter Davis going to try a 51-yard field goal here. His career high is 53. Here's the snap placement down. Good luck, but it starts right and it's fading right. And it's
no good.
Carter Davis wide right from 51
Good field
yards.
position for Ole
Miami
Miss now.
does not score to open up this second half. Ole Miss will get it back after the timeout with 11:53 to go third quarter. It's the Hurricanes with a 17-13 lead over Ole Miss. You're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
3 on the way for the win. He got it! College Basketball Saturday on ESPN Radio. It's an SEC showdown in Gainesville.
Spins right to the baseline. He's held. The layup is good. And a chance for 3 at the line.
The 21st ranked Tennessee Vols face the Florida Gators. Number 21 Tennessee at Florida. Coverage begins Saturday morning at 11:30 Eastern. With tip-off at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. The Dominique Foxworth Show.
Harbaugh got fired. I was shocked but not surprised, if that makes any sense. Like, it seemed like something that could happen, but also it's still like he's been the coach there for 19 years, and he's won a Super Bowl. You know, it takes some time before you do something like that. The tough thing is, this team has been good enough to win a championship since Lamar's second year, and they haven't yet. And so, like, it's hard to look at that and say, like, the coach or somebody hasn't been disappointed.
Check out the Dominique Foxworth Show anywhere you get your podcast. You're listening to the College Football Playoff Semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
11:53 to go, third quarter, State Farm Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. Only the second SEC versus ACC Fiesta Bowl. The only other one was after the 1998 season, the first ever BCS title game. Tennessee beat Florida State. Miami with a 17-13 lead over Ole Miss. And Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden. And here comes Kewan Lacey, Kelly. Let's see what he can give. Right hamstring injury on that 73-yard touchdown run to start the second quarter.
And remember, Kewan Lacey's makeup is the fact that he gets a lot of yards after contact. So he's a violent runner downhill, and we'll see if that hamstring holds up.
Heavy wrap on the right leg. He'll motion from the right side of Chambliss to the left. It's a play fake on first down. A pass down the right sideline. Grabbed and caught. Dejon Stripling right near the left sideline and out of bounds, beating Xavier Lucas in coverage. They'll mark it at the plus 46 for 21.
It was a fantastic pitch and catch as Ole Miss gets to go fast again, recognizing man-to-man outside and throw it to the guy and give him a chance to catch it.
Longest play of the night for Ole Miss. Chambliss, another pass up the seam. Caught, hit, and dropped after an 11-yard gain. Caden Lee made the catch. Jacoby Thomas hit him right away, but Lee able to hang on.
I wonder if that short time situation at the end of the first half has ignited this offense to some extent to this second half.
Another big chunk play. They get 12 there from the 34 of Miami. Another pass nearly picked off, dropped by Jacoby Thomas, and he may have gone the other way on a pick six if he came up with that one.
A good job of Jacoby Thomas actually looking out of his zone coverage into the backfield and seeing that Trinidad Chambliss is going on a short drop, and so that ball's coming out in that run-pass option, and you're right, Jacoby Thomas almost picked that one off.
Second down and 10 now for Ole Miss at the Miami 34-yard line. 3 receivers right, 1 to the left. Snap to Chambliss. Another quick pass incomplete. Was trying to hit the tight end, Daquan Wright and Caden Lee, both in that area there, in between them both, and it'll be 3rd down.
I don't know if KB and Fitz down on the sideline can keep an eye on this, but there are a lot of players right now slipping around. That time, Zachariah Poyser was on coverage that time, and he slipped all the way to the ground. If it had been a more accurate pass, that would have been complete.
3rd down and 10, Ole Miss at the Canes 34-yard line. Miami has 4 on the defensive front. Waiting in the gun, Chambliss takes the snap, and they rush 4. Good pickup pass, and it is broken up, tipped, nearly hit the ground. Wesley Basaint that time, it's incomplete. Nearly came up with the pick. Ethan O'Connor also in that time. And it'll be 4th down.
Harrison Wallace should have caught this football. He runs inside, finds the void in the zone, sets down about right on the 20-yard line number. If he catches it clean, he has an opportunity. Although it wasn't exactly thrown accurately, that ball needed to be slightly more inside. It was almost picked off about 3 times, Kesty.
And they're going to bring out the strong-legged kicker, Lucas Carnero, on a 52-yard attempt. He hit one from 58 right before the half. Puts it down. It's going toward the left upright. It clangs off the left upright, and it is no good. Plenty of distance, but the upright is still shaking after Carnero hit it off the left upright. And neither team has scored here to start this second half. With 10:56 to play, 3rd quarter, Miami 17, Ole Miss 13. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Score more with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Rep your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back through Venmo Stash, a new rewards program where the more you do, the more you get. Get your Venmo debit card today and start earning rewards with Venmo Stash. Learn more at venmo.com/collegecard.
The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms.
Rich Eisen here. Hiring for your small business can feel like a full-time job, but LinkedIn Jobs AI Assistant takes the heavy lifting out of it. It filters applicants based on the criteria you set and suggests 25 great fit candidates daily, so you can invite them to apply and keep things moving. Hire right the first time. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Eisen, then promote it to use LinkedIn Jobs' new AI Assistant, making it easier and faster to find top candidates. That's linkedin.com/Eisen to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to the college football playoff semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Drive for each team, both missing a field goal to open the second half. Miami 17, Ole Miss 13. With 10:56 to go, 3rd quarter, we're going to pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. And Lucas Carnero, 51-yard attempt hitting the upright. He's now 10 for 12 in his career, 50-plus. So only his second miss from 50-plus, and both went off the upright. No doubt about the leg. It just started left upright and stayed there.
Yeah, and it did. It stayed left, and it hit that upright, kind of the inside half of the left upright, and we're looking right down at it, and that thing was shaking. And it might be compromised at this point in time. That guy has a powerful leg.
17-13, Miami the lead. What's at stake? A trip to the national championship game. It'll be a week from Monday, January 19th. College Football National Championship presented by AT&T. Winner of tonight's game against the winner of Oregon, Indiana. Our other semifinal, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, set for tomorrow night in Atlanta. Carson Beck and Miami, second drive of the second half. Drive start at the 34-yard line. Beck has a man in motion. Marion takes the snap. He's got nothing. He's going to run, falls forward near the 35-yard line, and he'll pick up 1 yard there. Prince Will Uman-Mielen, who had a sack earlier in the game, gets the tackle.
A lot of first down throwing by Shannon Dawson, the offensive play caller for Miami, and I think that has to do with the trust that Shannon Dawson has with Carson Beck. If you trust the decision-making of that QB1 position, you can call those first down passes knowing that he's going to go to the right place.
Second down and 9 now. Fletcher in the backfield. Beck gives it to him. Nothing up the middle. Stop dead. Now the burst about 3 or 4 yards after he found a little hole off the left side for 4. And we'll get it up to the 39-yard line and bring up third down. Jamarius Brown with the tackle.
And consider those first 2 plays, Kesty. Beck doesn't have anything on the first down pass, so he runs it, and he doesn't give up a sack or a negative play. He gets 1 yard. And then that time it seemed like a really benign run, but it was for 4 yards. And so you get to third and manageable, 3rd and 5. This is where Miami makes a living.
3rd and 5, 2 receivers to the left, 2 to the right, including Malachi Tony in the slot on the right side. Snap to Beck. Beck back to pass. Pocket was clean. Now he sprints out to the right. He's going to run to the 40. Gets the marker near the 45-yard line and is out of bounds. Carson Beck runs for the first. With 9:32 to go here in the third quarter, he gets 8.
Kesty, these little things that Malachi Tony is a true freshman. I think he just turned 18 years old like a few days ago or something. It's nuts. And so he's in man-to-man coverage outside, and he sees Carson Beck coming to him, so he takes off down the field to take that coverage with him, and then Carson Beck has that sneaky speed at times to convert in plays like that.
Clock moving, nearing 9 minutes to go, third quarter, line of scrimmage now the 47 for Miami. First down, handoff, Fletcher off the right side, tries to get to the edge, gets 3 or 4 yards before finally stepping out of bounds. Out at the plus 48-yard line, Braxton and Kite that time ushered him out after 5 yards.
And Mario Cristobal doesn't want his offense to wander too far away from that physical run game. And they will go inside zone, which is more violent. Outside zone as those defensive tackles and linebackers start to hone in on that inside zone play, and that's what it was last play.
Second down and 5, give to Fletcher, going between the tackles this time. And he gets about a yard before Cam Franklin takes him down at the plus 47-yard line. Another third down coming up for Miami. 3rd and short here.
Yeah, 3rd and 3, and that's why Miami is so good on 3rd down, is because they're efficient on 1st and 2nd down. You won't find a good 3rd down team that isn't really good on 1st and 2nd down typically. They're converting it over 52% on the year.
7 for 12 tonight on 3rd down. 3rd and 3 here. Shamar Brown is in at running back off the right hip of Beck. 2 receivers tight to the right, 1 to the left. Tony goes in motion. Snap, handoff, Brown. Breaks a tackle, gets the first over the 40-yard line and taken down at the Ole Miss 39 by Centurion Perkins. Shamar Brown, a 7-yard run.
Kesty, we've talked about this before, that in these 3rd down situations, just like the deep red zone, when Miami scored on the run by Shamar Brown in that first half, that typically is Mark Fletcher territory. But you have the scat back in there, and I think it's because of the defensive line movement that Ole Miss plays with defensively.
It's been an all-rush drive so far from Miami. At the Ole Miss 39, another run. And Brown this time will get a couple, maybe 3 yards near the 37-yard line of Ole Miss. Pick up 2, 7-10, clock moving, third quarter. Jaden Yates, the tackle.
And so what I mean by that movement by Ole Miss's defensive line, they're not a real physical downhill type of defensive line. They play a lot of line games, a lot of twisting and stunting. And sometimes with a quicker running back, when they stunt into a hole, his quickness can get him back to a different location in that run fit.
Second down and 7. Brown still in it back off the right side. Do we have movement from the Miami line? It appears we do. Flag is out on Snodgrass, our referee.
False start. Offense, number 73. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Right guard Inez Cooper picking up the flag. That'll move Miami back now 5 yards.
I get the feeling that this is a really important drive for Ole Miss not to let Miami in the end zone. 58 plays by Miami and literally half that, 29 for Ole Miss. And this is the kind of the slow bleed that Miami inflicts on the defense.
Well, that penalty makes it a 2nd down and 13 for Miami at the plus 42. Snap to Beck, throws right side, dropped. Oh, JoJo Trader had that one. I think he was ready to turn and head downfield before he completely had it, and a big drop there.
Yeah, and he was looking for some of those coveted yards after the catch, and he just didn't corral it. His head turned outside just as the ball was getting there. The ball was thrown at the top of the helmet by Carson Beck, but easily catchable.
Well, Miami's been chewing up all the time on the clock, but can Ole Miss get a stop here? 3rd and 13 for the Canes at the Rebel 42. 3 receivers on the right side. Snap to Beck. Short drop. Looking. Has nothing. Now he's going to run with it. At the 40 to the 35. And he's tackled shy of the line to gain at the 30 by T.J. Dottery. It's 4th and 1 on the 11-yard pickup.
Mario Cristobal certainly will go for it here. His offensive line is working well up front. They're lathered up. They're getting a hat on a hat. And there's a spy on Carson Beck on that play. But ultimately, he's blocked by Matthew McCoy, the left guard, just as that spy was trying to find Carson Beck.
Miami is 1 for 1 on 4th down. It's officially a 4th and 2. They're at the 31. They got to get to the Ole Miss 29. 5:40 to go, 3rd quarter. Snap to Beck. Hands it off to Brown. Pushing. He's got the first, and he gets 5 or 6 yards after contact. 1st down, Hurricanes. James Brockermeyer and Ez Cooper, the center and right guard, leading the way on the 9-yard gain.
James Brockermeyer was a 3-year starter at TCU and was added through the portal this season, and he's been kind of that stabilizing factor up front. They had all the other pieces, big guys, 6'6" to 6'9", 330-plus pounds. They needed a guy in the middle, and Brockermeyer has been that guy for this offense.
8 rushes, 1 pass on this drive. 1st down and 10 at the 22. Handoff, and Brown gets into the red zone over the 20 to the 18-yard line. You're right, Fletcher's been carrying the load for much of this winning streak, but a healthy Shamar Brown is helping out for Mario Cristobal and his offense.
And this is quintessential Miami Hurricanes down the stretch. When they got healthy, as Chris Budden talked about, the penalties went down, Carson Beck got more efficient, and this offensive line said, you know what, just get behind us and we'll see how far we can take it.
2nd and 7 off the 3-yard gain from the 19-yard line of Ole Miss. Tony motions on the left, another handoff to Brown. He was collared initially and now brought back by Xavier Harris. No gain, the big defensive tackle. And big, we're talking 6'8", 330, able to get Shamar Brown that time.
We haven't heard a lot of Xavier Harris.
And he's slow to get up.
Yeah, he's slow to get up. And I talked to you before the game, and Xavier Harris on tape looks kind of like a mini version of Shaq playing defensive tackle. And then to top things off, he has kind of a half shirt on, and his belly is evident of how big the man is.
3rd and 7. Harris heads off the field. We're under 4 minutes to go in the 3rd. From the Ole Miss 19 for the Hurricanes. Miami with a 17-13 lead. They'll send Marion in motion, the receiver to the left, and a flag from the defensive backfield. And we've got a false start, another flag on Ez Cooper, the right guard.
False start.
3rd and 7 will become 3rd and 12.
5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Down to Ian Fitzsimmons.
Harris waved off. Trainers did not go to the injury tent. And you're right, Kelly. When it comes to that belly, he makes me look good.
Hey, you only had 10 to lose. How we doing?
Let's not go there.
Fitzy brought donuts for the whole crew this morning, so nobody lost weight today.
He's shooting himself in the foot, just like Miami sometimes on these pre-snap penalties.
Didn't have any penalties last week. Right now facing a 3rd and 12 off their latest penalty with 3.5 minutes to go, 3rd quarter from the Ole Miss 24-yard line. 2 receivers left, 1 to the right. Snap to Beck. It's going to be a pass play. Pumps, puts it tipped in the air, and it's intercepted by Ole Miss. Kapena Goshikin on the tip pass comes up with the INT, and the Ole Miss defense comes up with a turnover. So Miami gets nothing out of it. And with 3:19 to go, Ole Miss defense will give the ball back to the Rebels, trailing Miami 17-13, 3:19 to go in the third. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
All right, Mom and Dad, that's enough screen time for today.
I literally just saved us more money by finding 2 subscriptions we forgot about with Navy Federal Credit Union's mobile app.
Yeah, and I just protected our credit from cringe fraudsters with this security tech.
Don't you want to spend some time on social media?
Will social media help us manifest your college tuition?
Get the best banking ever with one of America's top-rated digital banking experiences, Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA. Message and data rates may apply. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information.
At Wrangler, we know the essential question for any guy is, can I go like this? It could be date night, boys' night, work, or your nephew's school play. It could be anything. And the last thing you want to do is change. Jackets and tees that answer yes to life's essential question. You can go in Wrangler. Check out our latest styles today at Wrangler.com. Wrangler for the ride of life.
Hey, it's Rich Eisen for Pella Windows and Doors. Sometimes teams take a timeout to regroup and call the right play. When it comes to your home, Pella Windows and Doors always has the winning game plan. They're not just window and door experts. They're experts at taking care of you and your home. At Pella, they find the products that meet your needs and their experts install them. They do it every day, and that's why your neighbors trust them. Discover why Pella is a trusted choice for homeowners everywhere. Visit Pella.com/Eisen today. That's Pella.com/Eisen.
This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Big INT by the Ole Miss defense. They take over, trailing Miami 17-13, 3:19 to go. Third quarter, Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden, our entire ESPN radio team. Capenna, Gushikin, an early candidate, Kelly, for our defender of the game, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. First INT this year for Gushikin. He had 3 with Washington State the last couple of years. And Cam Franklin, who was able to get the start today and play, got injured last week. It was his big right hand on the defensive line that got that tip ball in the air.
Cam Franklin certainly gets the assist. He started an inside rush on Markel Bell and was stoned. So he slips back outside. Well, lo and behold, just as Carson Beck is throwing the football, he gets that right hand up and tipped it. And Gushikin makes a big-time play, but it's not about turnovers. Ultimately, it's about points off of turnovers. We'll see if Trinidad, Winidad, and company can do something with this turnover right now.
Well, the time of possession watch, 33 and a half minutes to Miami, 8 minutes and change for Ole Miss. But it's only a 4-point game. One of those 7 points, the Kejuan Lacey 73-yard touchdown run, was a drive that took only a few seconds. They'll start the drive at the 14-yard line. Trinidad Chambliss rolling out to the right, throws, it is caught at the 25, breaking through Dejon Stripling, broke 1 tackle and finally got knocked down near the 30-yard line by Jacoby Thomas. Gain of 17 on first down.
Stripling hurries up, runs the ball back to the official, and I'm telling you this right now, Trinidad Chambliss has more juice on his throws in this second half. I think he's feeling it. They went into halftime. He said, hold on a second, guys. None of it looks like we're playing our type of game, but look up at the scoreboard. It's a one-possession game. Let's do something special in the second half.
Very similar story last week against Georgia when they came out down 9. Chambliss had the big second half. From the 31, first down, a play fake and looking to pass, loading up, taking a shot deep into double coverage, tip, and it is dropped and nearly intercepted. Trey Wallace, the intended receiver, had 2 in front of him. Xavier Lucas was able to get a hand on it, and Ethan O'Connor nearly came up with the pick.
It was 2 high safeties on the back end, and Lucas was on the opposite side. He comes over. That ball was in the air a long time. And it was a go route, kind of a deep post route. Ethan O'Connor was on the coverage initially, and neither one of them could corral that football.
Ethan O'Connor was a Washington State teammate with Capenna Gushikin, who had a pick last time for Ole Miss. Here on second down, pass, Ripling's got it. And he gets by one defender, gets the first down, and out of bounds on that far left sideline, out by the 44-yard line, a gain of 13.
The radio play-by-play is Larry, but the simulation isn't. It's a NCAA.
His quarterback is finding him quickly in this half.
Those two were huge last week in the win over Georgia. From the 44, first down, rolling to his right, throwing to the sideline, caught and getting 2 feet down. That was Deuce Alexander that time. You hear the Ole Miss fans deucing him as he gets to midfield, just over to the 49, gain of 6.
Well, you know when Steph Curry gets hot, throwing up three-pointers from everywhere. That's the way Trinidad Chambliss was in the second half last week, and he kind of has that look about him right now.
7 yards gained at the 49-yard line. The line to gain is the 46. Here's Chambliss throwing out into the slot. Caden Lee has a blocker. He's got the first. Left sideline over the 40-yard line and out of bounds near the 37-yard line. Poyser that time tried to defend, and it's a 12-yard pickup.
And it's the velocity on the ball because it's Trinidad Chambliss is being considerably more decisive in this half. It was a run-pass option. You invite the defender up. If you get that in the run fit, you bang it outside accurately, and you get the yards after the catch.
Clock moving, minute 20 to go, third quarter. Ole Miss moving the ball. They got it at the Miami 37. Snap to Chambliss, throws left sideline, and it's incomplete. Trying to find Keywan Lacey, who was out on that side. Threw about a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and could not convert. 1:13 to go.
Miami
Lacey's back
defensive
with that
coordinator
hamstring injury.
Corey Heatherman, as an offense is driving the football, defensively you have to do something to disrupt that rhythm. He adds one extra guy into the pass pressure that time, and it worked. It sped up the clock of Chambliss.
And Mesidor have not been able to apply the pressure on Chambliss so far tonight. 1:13 to go in the third. On second down, Chambliss throwing right side incomplete, trying to find Deuce Alexander. Double covered again, including Ethan O'Connor, the cornerback.
Ethan O'Connor underneath, and then you have Jacoby Thomas coming over the top. And it's difficult to hold that safety when it's a quick throw like that, but Trinidad Chambliss needs to do a better job of keeping Thomas in the middle of the field, or he's going to pick one off sooner than later.
Third down and 10 now for the Rebels at the Miami 37-yard line, down 4. 1:09 to go in the third from the left hash mark 37. Chambliss will send Alexander in motion. There's 3 receivers on the right side. Snap to Chambliss under some heavy pressure this time. Trey couldn't get him down and finally dropped that time. That was Armando Blunt on the second defensive effort. Mohamed Touré brought all the pressure that time, and it's no gain.
It's Touré on one side, it's Blunt on the other, and if it's not those guys, Bain and Mesidor are typically roaming around there somewhere.
They're going to bring out the big-legged Lucas Carnero. It's going to be about a 54, 55-yard attempt.
Try to make it a 1-point game.
Anything inside of 60, they're going to him. He hit the left upright from 51 yards last time. 54-yard attempt. Snap, placement, kick on its way, end over end. Does it have enough? It clanks the left upright and goes through this.
Bang! Yeah!
Back to back off the left upright.
Kid's amazing.
This time enough momentum to get through, and 3 points on the board for Ole Miss. They're down
17-16.
55 yards from Lucas Carnero. And with 22 seconds to go in the third quarter, Miami's lead is 17-16 over Ole Miss. Television has an extra break here, so a chance for us to toss to Ian Fitzsimmons, who is with Ole Miss Athletic Director Keith Carter.
Man, that guy's going to be drafted maybe second, third round, I bet.
What's it been like as the athletic director?
Keeps knocking 60
Well,
yarders
it's been
like
an interesting situation for sure. Just so happy for our young men.
I think the only first rounder was
and for the focus to be
Janikowski.
back on them, which is awesome. Pete's done an incredible job in our building, and it's just been really cool. And now we got to hopefully get to the national championship game.
What have you learned about this particular team and Pete Golding?
Well, the team, I love these guys. They're a mature group. They've got a lot of experience. All the distractions and all the noise, they've been able to fight through it, and that's been really awesome. And then Pete, when he took over, he really just kind of kept things in place, wanted to try to make it as normal as possible for the guys. But, man, he's put his own touch on it, and that personal touch has been really awesome.
As far as the calendar goes, we've talked a lot about it. As an athletic director, dealing with this for the first time, what would you do to change the calendar?
Well, there's a lot. We need to change a lot. It's not just a one answer, problem. And so I hope, unfortunately, maybe our situation is going to lead to some change and some reform on this, because it was a tough deal for everyone. And obviously now going through the portal and playing games and doing those type of things, there's just a lot we need to talk about. Hopefully we can do that in the offseason.
Breathe.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
See you.
Thank you so much.
Back to you.
All right, appreciate it, Fitz. And so much change in college football from all different angles. And look, we find you make one change, you don't know the negative aspects of what that change will be, and then you have to make some more change. And it seems like the calendar, you hear calendar, that's a
calendar.
We're hearing
Who's
a lot
in charge
here.
of the calendar? I want to know
That's
that.
a good question.
Who's the calendar guy at the NCAA or people making these decisions? Because you know what we have? We have a boatload of 18 to 22 to 23-year-olds that want to know what the blank the calendar stands for. And I thought the last I looked, we were supposed to be making decisions that were in the best interest of our student athletes, and the adults in the room have been dreadful at doing just that.
Well, it's tough when the calendar includes you're halfway through your playoffs and free agency essentially begins, including the teams that are still in the playoffs.
Hey, I have a free agent. My son is in the portal, and so we had to go through all that, and I'm thinking, hold on a second. His options are kind of materializing, and he has to start school like in 3 days.
Yeah.
I said, how does this work? And so it's interesting, and they need to get it fixed. And when's the last time you saw an NFL or heard of an NFL coach leaving when his teams get to the playoffs?
Never.
Never, because they have a system that works. College football has pretended to be the NFL almost in every way. They don't have a salary cap, and they allow coaches to leave their teams at the altar as they're starting their playoff run. I mean, that's really poor decision-making by a bunch of people that should be smarter than that.
And meanwhile, Pete Golding has been holding it down, the defensive coordinator for Ole Miss, now head coach, taking over for Lane Kiffin, who headed to LSU on November the 30th. And they just got a 54-yard field goal that hit the left upright and had enough momentum to go through the post for 3 points, trailing Miami by 1. Carnero getting set to kick it off from the 35, and that strong-legged kick will go into the back of the end zone for a touchback. Speaking of the portal, I don't know how many thousands are in the portal now. We're like up to 5,000, 6,000. Trinidad Chambliss was ranked the 843rd best prospect in the portal last year, which is an absurdly high number, but considering how many thousands, not too bad. But nobody could have expected what this Division II champ would bring to Ole Miss this year.
Austin Simmons was the starter. I mean, he certainly, and Austin Simmons, I was watching him, he's a lefty, he has a beautiful throwing motion. He got dinged up, and Chambliss was supposed to come and at least be kind of a specialty type of quarterback situationally, and because of the injury, Trinidad Winidad goes in there and just lights it up, and here we are, one of the best stories, if not the best in college football this season.
Miami's lead is 1. They'll start from the 25-yard line. 22 seconds to go in the third. Mark Fletcher back in the game. He gets the run, gets the edge 30, 35-yard line, and along those hash marks finally is pushed out of bounds by Nick Cole. And they will mark him out at about the 40 for a gain of 15.
And we're starting to see more of that outside zone now by Miami in the run game. And they're an inside-the-box team usually running the football, but now the adjustment is to go outside and change the angles that those defenders have to attack.
And Fletcher with that run goes over 100 yards again at 110 and counting, and it also ticks off the final seconds of the third quarter. A spot in the national championship game is on the line. 15 minutes to go in regulation. We're through 3. Miami 17, Ole Miss 16. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Who you guys got? Hurricanes or Rebels? Going to this fourth quarter. Miami up 17 to 16, only up 1.
In this corner, the Broadway Blue Shirts. Panarin down the middle. Score! Against the black and gold. There's nothing like homemade pasta. That's the battle in Beantown. ABC Hockey Saturday, presented by Honda. Rangers Bruins. Saturday at 1 Eastern on ABC and the ESPN app.
Since week 9, the Jacksonville Jaguars are the only team in the NFL to rank in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive.
You think so?
Check out the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny on YouTube and wherever
They
you get your
definitely
podcasts.
dominated this game. the time of possession. Shit, Ole Miss only has it for 15 minutes in this game.
Oh, find them weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and the
Yeah, it's about
SEC
30 minutes to 15 minutes.
Unsportsmanlike.
Somehow Ole Miss is only down one.
Officially parents.
Yes, let's
Baby
go.
born 6:27
Miami's better stop fooling around.
Eastern
Score a
time.
touchdown right now.
Thrills for the Canty family. 6:27 a.m. Eastern time. Nuno's reaction was 2 minutes late. Supposed to go to break at 6:25. Clock integrity here, Mel.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. The Rich Eisen Show.
I was hearing from Seahawks fans, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Gabriel in Washington, let's take your phone call.
I just want to crow for the Seahawks. Speaking of crow, anyone that refers to us as the Sea Chickens, I just want to give you a little correction. We're the Sea Roosters because we're your daddy.
Terzo in Iowa.
Shots at Terzo.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, and on Disney Plus. Is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta.
Fletcher's gone. 30, 25, 20. Lights, camera, action. Mark Fletcher.
Quarter of the first semifinal of this year's college football playoff. Miami 17, Ole Miss 16. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer up in the booth. Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden down on the field. Our entire ESPN radio crew. John Medani, our producer. Brian DeBose, our engineer. Keith Parsons, statistician. Ken Benowitz, our spotter, and our boss, Pete Saccone, here in the booth, and we're ready to go in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss has been dominated in just about every category. They haven't converted a third down, 0 for 7, but they got a kicker who's got 3 field goals, including 2 54-plus, and the one he missed off the pipes, they'd have the lead if he made it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good news for Pete Golden. He says, you know what, guys? Statistically, we're not even in this contest, but look up. It's a one-point game.
Miami at their own 40-yard line as we open the fourth quarter. First down and 10. 15 minutes to go. Backward pass. Tony's got it out in the flat left to the 40, 45, 50. He's got 11, maybe 12 yards over to the plus 48-yard line. Nick Cull over there to spin him out of bounds.
Here they come.
A very simple design. You get your playmaker out in space. It's actually a backward pass, so look for that. That might be setting up Malachi Tony actually throwing a pass, which he's thrown touchdown passes this year. He could throw that ball in the future, but get it out in space. TJ Banks is the nickel that's out there. It's a one-on-one situation, and good luck with that.
Tony, a former high school quarterback who already has 2 touchdown passes this year as an 18-year-old freshman. This will be Fletcher on the call on first down, and he is hit at the 45-yard line of Ole Miss by TJ Banks after picking up 2 yards. They really haven't gotten cute, really, with Malachi Tony too much here tonight.
No, the one time they got cute, it cost them some points because they ended up settling for a field goal when they should have just been running it behind this physical offensive line 2 times. That was in the first half. Remember what do they call the Wildcat, the Mallycat?
The Mallycat, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a bad call in my opinion.
Tony has 4 catches tonight. That's 98 on the season here on 2nd and 7. Beck's under pressure, and Centurion Perkins takes him down for the sack. Ole Miss defense coming up with a sack. Uman Mielen had one earlier in the game.
Miami
And this time Perkins with the loss of 9.
And it was a late adjustment.
I don't know why they got it in.
A defender walked up, Perkins did late, and Mark Fletcher was in pass protection from his running back position. He took a step inside, and that's all that was needed for Perkins to have the edge and get to the quarterback.
Ole Miss fans getting loud again. Miami now facing 3rd and 16 off that sack. Back on their side of the 50 at the 45-yard line. Trips receivers to the right, one to the left. Snap to Beck. Pocket closing. Beck stepping up, and Beck going down. Will Eccles this time got him. And Ole Miss defense coming alive at just the right time.
I would like to know the last time that this Miami offensive line is given up sacks on consecutive plays. I don't know if we can find that out, but it may not have happened all season long.
They only allowed 15 sacks all season coming into this game.
Zone coverage on the back end, and people are covered, and that allows your pass rush to get home. But this kind of pressure on this offensive line is rare.
3rd sack of the evening for Ole Miss. The punter is on the field at the 30. And Dylan Joyce sends it away and waiting for it and signaling fair catch at the 10-yard
I feel
line.
like
is Trey
Miami's the better
Wallace.
team,
Beautiful
but
punt by the Aussie kicker, Dylan Joyce, of 48 yards.
Ole Miss
and
just
Ole
keeps
Miss
hanging around,
will take
hanging
over
around.
at its 10-yard line. Down one with 12:19 to go in this semifinal. Miami 17, Ole Miss 16. And you're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The College Football Playoff semifinals continue.
yeah, penalties, a big play by Lacey, and some long field goals.
We're not looking to sustain it. We're looking to improve it.
And Ole Miss has the ball down one.
The Indiana Hoosiers face the Oregon Ducks.
Touchdown, Oregon! The magic continues!
The College Football Playoff semifinals. Tomorrow at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. This is Freddie and Harry.
I think the quarterback has to play a factor in this, and they already have their guy. He's set in stone. It's Jackson Dart. He's shown a lot of people that he can play in this lead in this rookie season. So if I'm John Harbaugh, I also look at the defensive lineman that they have. Cam Scatterbull back. Malik Neighbors is going to come back as well at the wide receiver position. You add more pieces to the puzzle. So if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm wanting to go to the New York Giants.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Man, do I love card night.
A lot of pressure on that one. Not like it was with the Ravens.
Oh, come on.
We don't get a lot of leeway.
This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. You're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
12:19 to go, fourth quarter. Miami Hurricanes 17. Ole Miss Rebels 16, a spot in the national championship game on the line. Mark Kestisher and Kelly Stauffer with you from Glendale, Arizona. Let's go downstairs by that Ole Miss sideline. Here's Ian Fitzsimmons.
Well, I've never been an investigative reporter, Mark, but Kelly Stauffer sent me on a challenge and a quest. And what was Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss quarterback, eating during the last break? And that was energy chews by Gatorade, cool blue flavored and pretty tasty. So
nice.
Marshawn Lynch
You
Skittles.
actually stole some of those?
Yes, I did. Marshawn Lynch Skittles, Caleb Williams, the sour gummy worms. Now here we go.
And that's officially investigative journalism. We tried one. First down and 10 from the 10 and going nowhere. Kejuan Lacey going to lose a couple of yards that time. I'll say he got back to the original line of scrimmage, actually. Zechariah Poyser, the safety, got in there quickly on Lacey.
That was the
2nd and 12.
39th play by this Ole Miss offense. Remember, Charlie Weiss Jr. said, in order for us to win this game, we probably need to be in the 70 or 80 type play count.
That was Lacey's first touch, Kelly, since the 73-yard touchdown run for no gain. Pass caught, dribbling, left sideline, right near the line to gain. They'll mark him at the 19-yard line, going to be just short, a gain of 9.
Kesty, you can see it from up here, I believe. The confidence and the velocity that Chambliss is throwing with, it's different than the first half. Am I right?
Yeah, I got him 7 for 13 here in the second half so far, but you're right. The velocity, and he playing a different style. He's going to hand it off. Lacey, again, no real burst, but able to spin and fall forward. We'll see where they mark him. He's got it. Looks like they're going to mark him at the 20.5-yard line. Mesidor the tackle, but Lacey just enough burst to move the chains.
And Akeem Mesidor had a 2-yard tackle for loss, but it was Lacey that refused to be denied.
11:15 to go, fourth quarter, down 1 from the 21. Chambliss going to pass on first down, throws it left sideline, up high, grabbing it at the 40-yard line, and out of bounds, the tight end, Daquan Wright. Ethan O'Connor in coverage, 19-yard strike.
Damn, Miami let it get away.
Was going deep on that side,
had
and the
the
tight end
game
was
in
running
control.
a deep out route, and what a
How you
fantastic
losing
catch
in
by
Bain,
Daquan. Had to go
Mesidor, all
upstairs
those
to catch it.
defensive
Daquan
linemen.
Wright at 6'4", 255. First down and 10. Ole Miss at the 40-yard line. RPO late give, and Lacey able to fall forward about 4 yards. Mohamed Toure finally took him down.
Ole Miss's offense is kind of like a sprinter. You know, when they get the feel of the race, they're difficult to handle, and they kind of have that feel right now, it seems like.
2nd down and 6 for the Rebs at their own 44-yard line. 10-20 clock moving. Snap to Chambliss, handoff Lacey. Good burst right side of the 50-yard line, and he's taken down by Poyser. Who gets past the line to gain. First down and 10 Ole Miss, an 8-yard pickup by Lacey.
Daquan Wright, the tight end, slashing from left to right, kicking out the defensive end, and then Lacey cuts up inside of that. Wright is a very capable blocker, and you could see it on that play. That's exactly what this run game needed.
Clock with 9:50 and counting to go. And now Ole Miss has it over the 50-yard line at the 48 of Miami. 2 receivers to the left. Man in motion. It's going to be a handoff. Winston Watkins around the right side. Might have got a yard or 2. We'll give him 2 to the 47-yard line of Miami. Well sniffed out by Marquise Lightfoot, defensive end for the Canes.
And Watkins, as he wants to keep this hurry-up offense going, he gets up off the ground, sprints the ball back to the official so the official can mark it, and they want to snap it again right now.
Logan Diggs now in the backfield. Lacey out on the sideline. 2nd down and 9. Play fake Chambliss. Pressure coming. Sprints to his left. Turning the corner. Sights a receiver. Leaning back. Can't come up with it. Incomplete. He tried to find Deuce Alexander, who turned kind of parallel to that sideline and bending his back. Couldn't come up with the catch.
Trinidad Chambliss was able to escape pressure. He gets outside to the left, and I thought there was running room. It was man-to-man coverage on the back end. And instead, he tries to bang it out late to Alexander, and Alexander just could not concentrate on keeping his feet in and biting the ball into his hands.
Ole Miss had been 0 for 7 on 3rd. They converted their last. They're 3rd and 9 here. Just over midfield. Snap to Chambliss. Pressure coming blindside. Throws. Caught. First down.
Wow.
Just beat the wrap and hit Caden Lee on a first down
Stepped
throw.
up right in that blitz.
Deontay Scott got a piece of Trinidad Chambliss, but he was able to get it off for 11 yards. There is a marker down.
Deontay Scott was bearing down on the quarterback Chambliss just as he threw that ball. It was off to the left side. It was a blitz off the corner, and he came flying in, and Chambliss stood right into it.
Targeting. Defense number 6. The play will be under further review.
Wow, was that targeting on the quarterback?
That was at the end of the play after the
Oh,
catch.
at the end of the play.
We had a personal foul targeting call earlier in the game against Ole Miss Nick Cole that was overturned. And now Xavier Lucas, cornerback for Miami. We're going to get our look at the replay. Chambliss got hit. The catch was made by Lee. And now we're watching the frame-by-frame on ESPN after Lee made the catch. I think that time you could have an indicator leading with the helmet.
Jesse, you were right on that targeting that was overturned in the first half because there wasn't that indicator. There wasn't the launch that you have to have as an indicator. And I think we see it with Xavier Lucas on that play. I think he ducks his head, which is what the launch is all about in this case. And then there was that forcible contact above the shoulders and the head and neck. I think Xavier Lucas is going to be out of this game, and that's going to be a big loss.
I will say, we're watching frame by frame. Lucas, I think, is trying to avoid him, trying to go to his left, but the runner, Lee, is moving that direction too, so he did definitely go helmet, bang, bang, helmet quickly, and then shoulder.
But it's the forcible contact, right? And the intent isn't considered. And I don't think Lucas certainly intended to have his head in there, but remember, it's not helmet to helmet either. It's anything that's forcible contact above the
After
shoulders.
review, the ruling of targeting is upheld. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. Number 6 was disqualified for the remainder of the contest.
Mario Cristobal very upset on the other sideline, and if Miami can win this ball game, that would mean Xavier Lucas would miss the first half of the national championship game if the Canes get the win.
And O.J. Frederick is also a corner on that side. That's why Xavier Lucas is actually playing. Usually, a lot of times it's O.J. Frederick, but he's been banged up. So now we'll see how Charlie Weiss Jr. and Trinidad Chambliss choose to attack the secondary for the Miami Hurricanes.
Remember, they're also without Damari Brown, the redshirt sophomore cornerback who has missed the entire CFP so far. Add on the penalty, and it's 1st and 10, Ole Miss at the Miami 21-yard line. Snap to Chambliss, give to Lacey, right side, absorbs contact by Jacoby Thomas, and then is taken out. Another late flag or two come in after that tackle at the 16-yard line.
Another personal foul.
8:29 to go here in the fourth quarter. 3 officials converge. Our referee is Rod
After the
Snodgrass.
play, personal foul, late hit, defense number 11.
Miami is just...
After distance to the goal, first down.
Penalty markers starting to pick up on Miami, who had
They
0
folded.
in the quarters. That is
Something
number 9
happened.
against Miami here in the semis.
Number 9, that's incredible. That seems more like Miami in the first half of the season. Chris Button talks about part of this turnaround is their penalty yards per game plummeted when they started to play well. It was those self-inflicted wounds, and that's what David Blade does that time. He comes from his defensive tackle position and drills the receiver right at the very end of that play.
1st and goal from the 8-yard line for Ole Miss. Snap, handoff, Lacey up the middle, absorbs contact, is driven down at the 5-yard line that time. Zechariah Poyser got the last hit. 3-yard gain. We're under 8 minutes to go in regulation, and we got a player down. That's Akeem Mesidor, the outstanding defensive end for Miami, being attended to right now down by the 5-yard line. 7:54 to go, fourth quarter. Ole Miss down a point on the move, and Akeem Mesidor being attended to on the 5-yard line. It's the Hurricanes of Miami with a 17-16 lead over Ole Miss. For the time being, this is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
All right, Mom and Dad, that's enough screen time for today.
I literally just saved us more money by finding 2 subscriptions we forgot about with Navy Federal Credit Union's mobile app.
Yeah, and I just protected our credit from cringe fraudsters with this security tech.
Don't you want to spend some time on social media?
Will social media help us manifest your college tuition?
Get the best banking ever with one of America's top-rated digital banking experiences.
17-16 right now, Miami, but Ole Miss has the ball inside Miami's 10-yard line.
With
Just
Progressive
under
customer
8 minutes
service, there
to
are
go.
lots of ways to connect with us,
Fourth
so you
quarter.
never have to miss a second of your favorite sport. Because you'd much rather watch a ball go through a net 124 times in 48 minutes when you don't really have to pay attention until the last 2, and then somehow those 2 minutes will take an hour. You don't want to miss all of that. Luckily, you can chat with Progressive on our app, online, or over the phone without missing a single one of those times the ball goes through the metal circle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
College football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Miami 17, Ole Miss 16 with 7:54 to go, fourth quarter. Mark Estisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Button. Akeem Mesidor, the active FBS sacks leader, is still down over at the 5-yard line. Ole Miss is driving inside at the 5, and for more, let's go downstairs to Chris Button.
Yeah, he's still laying down. I just saw a Miami staffer come out and bring out a brace. When we watched the replay, one of the Ole Miss linemen lands on his right arm, kind of on his elbow as he's standing up right now. He's able to walk off under his own power, with Jason Taylor giving him a kiss on the head, walking to the sidelines. Also, for an already thin secondary, I've been watching Jacoby Thomas, one of their DBs, and he's walking around in pain, grabbing his right wrist. He's going to stay out there as Mesidor walks off to the sidelines.
And that left arm just kind of hanging. He's not moving it. Bryson Sanders was the lineman, the center, and Kelly, it was the full force of his 310 pounds coming down on that right arm of Akeem Mesidor.
Yeah, Justin Scott, the defensive tackle for Miami, was kind of jostling with Bryson Sanders, and Mesidor was already on the ground. You could see that right arm out. His hand was on the ground, his elbow was up, and then that 300-pound center lands right on it, and it was not a pretty look.
Second down and goal from the 5. Trinidad Chambliss was on the line of scrimmage now, motions into the backfield at the quarterback position. Is an RPO keep? Chambliss out on the right side, out of bounds, inside the 5-yard line. Might have got a yard. Good job by Miami defensively that time. It'll be third and goal now with 7:30 to go here in the fourth quarter.
Jabari Antonio was out kind of keeping the leverage. He was blocking the tight end, but he was forcing that ball to go wider than Chambliss was expecting to go. That was well defended by Miami.
Third down and goal now for Ole Miss, down a point. 7:10, clock moving, fourth quarter from the 4. Snap, Trinidad Chambliss throws, and is dropped at the 5-yard line. Kewan Lacey trying to make the catch in the flat, could not hang on. Fourth down, and now Ole Miss can take the lead as the field goal unit, led by Lucas Carnero, heads onto the turf.
And that ball wasn't going to go very far anyway. It was well defended. The Miami defender was there to close on Lacey quickly. Lacey didn't finish the play, but certainly 2 missed opportunities for Ole Miss, but you get Carnero back out there once again.
Got a 42, a 58, and a 54-yard make. This one is just 22 yards away from the right hash. Waiting on the long snap. Placement is down. Kick is up. It is right through the pipes. And Ole Miss takes the lead. Exactly 7 minutes to go in the game.
That's
the
Rebels
19, Miami 17. Back to Glendale, Arizona in a moment. This is the college football playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Oh, dick in the dirt. My goodness, 12. White chalk him.
3 on the way for the win. He got it! College basketball Saturday on ESPN Radio. It's an SEC showdown in Gainesville. Spins right to the baseline. He's fouled. The layup is good, and a chance for 3 at the line. The 21st ranked Tennessee Vols face the Florida Gators. Number 21 Tennessee at Florida. Coverage begins Saturday morning at 11:30 Eastern with tip-off at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. ESPN's College Game Day, the podcast.
Saban, God bless him, changed when summer classes were at Alabama to favor around football because Nick Saban could literally move mountains in academics. As for the American education system, there is no one who's ready to move it. This beautiful mess we all love. And it is still rooted in college. Till the college leaves college football, it's going to suck.
Listen to the College Game Day podcast with
We're
Reese
going to
Davis
see if Carson Beck's worth all that NIL money.
The best mornings start with Wrangler. Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started on the right foot. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Score more with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Rep your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back through Venmo Stash, a new rewards program where the more you do, the more you get. Get your Venmo debit card today and start earning rewards with Venmo Stash. Learn more at Venmo.com/collegecard.
The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms.
Rich Eisen here. Hiring for your small business can feel like a full-time job, but LinkedIn Jobs AI Assistant takes the heavy lifting out of it. It filters applicants based on the criteria you set and suggests 25 great fit candidates daily, so you can invite them to apply and keep things moving. Hire right the first time. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Eisen, then promote it to use LinkedIn Jobs' new AI Assistant, making it easier and faster to find top candidates. That's linkedin.com/Eisen to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to the College Football Playoff Semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
On the national championship on the line, 2 Second half field goals, the only scoring. Ole Miss 19, Miami 17, exactly 7 minutes to go. And let's go downstairs by that Miami sideline, Chris Bud.
Carson Beck's demeanor never changes throughout the game. It's this cool collective. He's not a rah-rah guy. It's been the same thing even up until this point. He is a little bit more antsy during that last Ole Miss drive. Up and down, walking from the bench, ready to get out there. Kind of a shell-shocked also offensive line that it led up those sacks in the last drive. Watched a lot of film. They were kind of frustrated by some of the shifts up front. One more thing, good news for Mesdor. He is out of the injury tent and is down here sitting on the benches looking at film with a very heavy brace around that right arm.
Appreciate that, KB. Lucas Carnero with the ensuing kickoff pumps it deep into the end zone and out the back for a touchback. And you heard Chris talking about Carson Beck. This has not been a good second half. Much better pressure by the Ole Miss defense. 3 of their 4 sacks coming in the second half.
Well, and Chris talked about the movement that is frustrating this offensive line for Miami. That's who Ole Miss is defensively on the line of scrimmage. They move guys around, a lot of stunts, twisting, and that was effective certainly on that last drive, but really in the second half.
Drive start, 25-yard line, 7 minutes to go. Beck's going to throw on first down. Launching one deep, one-on-one. Turning, might be a flag. There it is. Went for Keelan Marion and Chris Graves, who got away with it a couple of times to start the second half. Looks like going to get a DPI here.
It's a spot foul, too.
Pass interference, defense, number 32. 15-yard penalty,
15.
First down.
Right now, Shannon Dawson is calling a game in the pass game kind of NFL-esque, which is you isolate a receiver that you think has a really good matchup, and we've seen multiple times that Miami has targeted Chris Graves in that pass game. This was a go ball, and Marion comes inside, and the ball was underthrown. Marion almost caught it anyway, but the pass interference gives a big play to Miami.
15-yard gain up to the 40-yard line. 6:52 to go in the fourth. Quick pass. C.J. Daniels out on the left flank to the 45-yard line and tackled about 2 yards shy of the first down on an 8-yard gain with 6:40 and counting to go here in the fourth.
That's another staple, Kesty, of Miami's pass game. It's the tunnel screen. A variety of screens, but that was the tunnel. You bang it out to receiver, he comes back inside as those big offensive linemen are getting outside the blocks.
2nd and 2, a little quicker pace off the snap. Fletcher right side, first down and more, 45 to the 40-yard line. Tried to stiff-arm the defender and out of bounds. Jalen Braxton got stiff-armed that time as Mark Fletcher Jr. gets 17 yards.
Well, Miami gave Ole Miss a dose of their own medicine. They went hurry up, and you could see the secondary was not set, and Fletcher immediately bounces it outside to the right, and there was no leverage defensively out there at all by Ole Miss.
What's up, Matthew?
Just going under 6 minutes to play in regulation. Ole Miss leads Miami by 2, 19-17. Canes have it now at the Ole Miss 35-yard line. Malachi Tony motions to the left. Snap and slipping down for a loss is Mark Fletcher Jr., a loss of 1. You talked about some slipping going on. First time we've seen it in a bit.
We've seen it in coverage. We've seen it a couple times by receivers. And this time, Mark Fletcher was going to try to bounce it outside to his left when the inside zone run was not there, and his left foot absolutely dug up a huge divot.
5:20 and counting to go. 2nd down and 11 for the Canes at the 36-yard line of the Rebels. Malachi Tony motioning to the left. 2 receivers there. Beck takes the snap. Quick pass to Tony on that tunnel. Has a screen at the 30-yard line. Out to the 25-yard line. Breaks a tackle to the 20 to the 10-5 and into the end zone. Touchdown.
The Maui Cat.
36 yards to the outstanding freshman.
Hurricanes answered.
And Miami's got the lead with 5:04 to go.
This is the second tunnel screen on this drive. The first one was to C.J. Daniels, and it was a productive pass as well.
Too.
This time it's Malachi Tony, and those offensive linemen are getting out there with rhythm and pace, and they're starting to peel off defensive linemen as Tony comes back inside, and he breaks a couple of tackles and stumbles his way into the end zone.
Malachi Tony, 17 years old, should have been a high school senior. The extra point is good by Carter Davis.
17 years old.
Comes up with the touchdown. his 9th touchdown reception of his outstanding freshman season, and
Out
a
there
huge
playing
one
with
to put Miami up
23-year-olds,
5 with
24-year-olds.
5:04 to go.
Malachi Tony coming into this game, I'm just going to add it up real quick. I think it's 128 targets, and he's yet to drop a football. I've never heard of such a thing. And then the young man is wise beyond his years, and one of the blessings of Carson Beck not being able to throw the ball in the spring, he spent a lot of time with Malachi Tony, watching tape, going clear back to the Georgia stuff. And Carson Beck said that Malachi Tony comes up to him in games sometimes and recalls a play clear back from a Georgia play that happened a few years ago when they were watching tape in the spring. That's amazing.
Only freshman I can remember with this much hype is Tyrann Mathieu.
That's pretty special. That kid's going to be a special player, there's no doubt.
Carson Beck 36-5 as a starter. It's his 53rd collegiate game. You pointed out he's got 2 CFP championship rings, but he was Stetson Bennett's backup at Georgia, coming off the injury from the SEC title game last year, and hoping to lead Miami to a home game in the national championship as the ensuing kickoff through the end zone for a touchback. 5:04 to go. Miami up 5. Let's go down to the Miami sideline with Chris Budd.
Great story for you from offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. Told me earlier in the season, he's outside grilling. He gets a FaceTime from an unknown number. He doesn't answer it. It calls back again. It's like, fine, I'll answer it. It's Tavon Austin, the wide receiver that he coached back at West Virginia. Tavon said, is Malachi Tony that dude? Dawson says, yeah, he is. Tavon goes, is he that dude like me? He's like, even better than you.
Oh, boy. Ouch.
High praise.
Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer.
And all worth it. ACC Rookie of the Year, first Miami freshman with a 1,000-yard receiving season. Only the 8th Hurricane ever with 1,000 yards receiving in a season. First down and 10, Ole Miss. Chambliss first down and throw. Open tight end, caught at the 45-yard line. Daquan Wright, and ushered out of bounds down the left sideline. Both quarterbacks starting to throw some haymakers now.
And Wesley Basaint was the linebacker on that side that did not read the route very well. He didn't go out with that deep out route by the big tight end, and there was no one else in that neighborhood. It's a zone scheme, and you have to continue to expand with that route, and Basaint did not do that.
Another member of the Miami secondary going out looking injured. Jacoby Thomas, the free safety, was kind of reaching in toward the armpit, headed out to the Miami sideline. We're under 5 minutes to go. Miami up 5. Ole Miss first down from the 46. A run play. Kejuan Lacey grabbed around the waist by Ruben Bain, able to fall forward for 2 yards.
Well, Kesty, as much as we've talked about statistically, this seems like a Miami kind of game, and I still think it is. I also said the first 1 to 20 probably wins it if Miami has an opportunity to have their style win out, and so far that's what's happening. But Ole Miss can turn that on its head right here.
Rebels 2nd and 8, a couple yards shy of midfield. Snap to Chambliss, floats one left sideline, dribbling, reaches, nearly came up with it. He had a defender right on him the whole way. Reached over the helmet of Jabari Antoine, the true freshman from Louisiana, and he nearly came up with it.
And Antoine does a very smart thing. He has his back to the football. The ball is high. Don't panic. Allow the eyes of the receiver tell you when the ball's coming, and then break up the catch pocket. And that's exactly what Antoni did right there.
Now 3rd down and 8 for Ole Miss with 4:16 to go. Down 5 at their own 48-yard line. 3 receivers right, 1 to the left, and as they snap the ball, it is blown dead. A timeout was called by Miami defensively with 4:15 to go on a big play coming up for Ole Miss. 3rd and 8 after the timeout, and we're going to pause 10 seconds here for station ID. You're listening to the College Football Playoff semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Miami 24, Ole Miss 19. Thank you for joining us tonight here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. However, you are watching us, I think we're on the All 22 on the Megacast by ESPN. Mark Kestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden, our entire ESPN Radio crew, and we have been treated to an outstanding semifinal by 2 teams who had to buck the odds to get here, beating Ohio State and Georgia a week ago. And now trading the lead. Ole Miss down 24-19 and a 3rd and 8 facing them from their own 48-yard line. Chambliss waiting in the gun. Caden Lee motions to the left. Snap to Chambliss. Throws up the seam. Incomplete. It was a slant intended for Trey Wallace, and there are penalty markers down. Jabari Antoine, the true freshman, may have committed the tug there as he's been ushered into this game due to injuries.
That's interference. Defense, number 16.
Kept it alive.
Place the spot of the foul. First down.
That's Antoine, the true freshman, playing meaningful minutes now. Xavier Lucas was tossed out of the game for targeting earlier in the fourth quarter. Damari Brown unable to go due to injury as well. And Antoine Kelly that time, big penalty on 3rd and 8.
And it was a clear pass interference on the quick slant. He absolutely had his right hand across the front of the intended receiver.
First down and 10 after the penalty. Ball spotted at the 45 of Miami. Play fake Chambliss, pocket closing. He's going to run. He's at the 45, the 40. Breaks a tackle at the 30 and angles out of bounds at the 25-yard line.
Trinidad, don't believe me, just watch.
On display with 4:05 to go. He gains 19.
And keep in mind that Akeem Mesidor is not in the game. Reuben Bain is in there. Marquise Lightfoot is no slouch on the other side, but that time it's one of the only times today that Trinidad Chambliss got loose, extending the play.
First down and 10, Rebels at the Miami 26-yard line. They'll hand off to Lacey. Tries to get around the right side, slips down over the 25 to the 23. Keontae Scott helped him slip down. Tackle after a gain of 2.
Kessie, if you're thinking through the play calling for Ole Miss, you have to think that this potentially is our last possession of this game. And so we have to make hay right now. This is our best opportunity, most likely.
Ole Miss has been so good in one-possession games this year. They're down 5, 2nd and 8, inside the 25. Chambliss back to pass. Throwing end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Daquan Wright.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Catch at the
Touchdown,
line
Ole Miss.
on a 24-yard touchdown play to give Ole Miss the lead back.
You would think that Ole Miss is going to go for 2 right here, up 1, catching that touchdown. So go for 2 and try to get up for 3, hit 3 points, but that was broken coverage. Daquan Wright was completely uncovered, and the nickel safety to that side thought that the big tight end was going to continue into the middle of the field. He doubled back and went kind of to the corner on a deep out, and they completely lost it.
They're 3 for 5 on 2-point conversions this year. Trinidad Chambliss will motion and now wait on the snap. Has it, a play fake and a roll to his right. Throws back, end zone caught. 2-point conversion to Caleb Odom. 2 tight ends coming up big on that drive. Right, the touchdown catch. Odom, the 2-point conversion. And it's a 3-point Ole Miss lead with 3:13 left.
2 really bad plays in coverage for a Miami defense that's typically pretty buttoned up. The first time they lose the big tight end Daquan Wright in coverage, you have a clear out route on the outside, and then the big tight end's going to kind of angle out into that void. And the defender to that side did not expand with that route. There is no outside help. So if you don't expand and get under that route, nobody is covering Daquan Wright. And it's a similar thing on that 2-point conversion. It's the prototypical route. You fake it, the tight end, Chambliss goes outside. You have a flat route, and then you have a tight end working the back of the end zone, and he was completely dropped in coverage by that same secondary by Miami.
Trinidad Chambliss with his 22nd touchdown pass of the year. What a story from Division II to the college football playoff semifinals, and hoping to lead the Rebels to a championship game as Canero's kickoff from right to left sails out the back of the end zone for a touchback. And now Carson Beck will take over here from the 25-yard line with 3:13 to go.
Miami has 2 timeouts, certainly plenty of time. And quite frankly, Carson Beck, this is why you're in Miami. For an opportunity not only to get to the college football playoff, but be taking snaps in a meaningful drive just like this.
The winner is going to head to Miami. Hurricanes are headed there regardless, but they want to host the college football playoff national championship. They're down 3, starting the drive at the 25-yard line. First down and 10. Beck's going to pass. Steps up, floats one up the post, short and incomplete. Trying to find Keelan Marion, and he might have had him, but he came up just a couple of yards shy that time, and it'll be 2nd and 10.
And Marion was not looking back for the football. He was actually ahead of Jalen Braxton in coverage by about a step, and that could have been feathered in there, but there was miscommunication on the deep post route by Marion and the quarterback Carson Beck.
3:08 to go. Clock stopped on the incompletion. Ole Miss fans who've made their way west to Arizona, the farthest west they've ever played a bowl game, making a lot of noise right now. 2nd down and 10. Beck takes the snap, throws sideline. It is caught by Marion right on the left sideline. Jalen Braxton covering him well. They'll pick up 8. That'll be 3rd and 2.
And that's the matchup right now on this drive that Carson Beck seems to like. He missed the post route to Marion on the play before. This is just a deep out route. A very good route by Marion, working the inside, busted it across the coverage by Braxton, and an accurate throw by Beck.
3rd and 2 play, and they're going to give it to Fletcher. He pulls forward for the first down, grabbed and knocked down at the 37-yard line. A 3rd down conversion, 4 yards by Mark Fletcher Jr. 2:45, clock moving. Miami down 3. Left hash mark, 37-yard line, the line of scrimmage. 2 receivers each way. Fletcher in the backfield. Snap to Beck. Pressure coming. Throws downfield as Bauman, the tight end. Can he hang on to it? No, as he hits the turf. He turned. Alex Bauman could not hang on. Wydad Williams Jr. was there to bring him down, and the ball bounced away after he hit the ground.
And this had an opportunity. The big tight end Bauman kind of goes up the seam, and
3rd and 10.
Wydad Williams leads college football in pass breakups. You can add another one to that. Remember, Fitz talked about Williams was banged up earlier in the game. He's instrumental in coverage in the back end for Ole Miss.
2:29, clock stop, 2nd and 10, Miami at their own 37.
I'm letting you listen to it.
2-by-2 formation, snap to Beck. Carson dumps it off over the middle. It is caught and hit immediately. Now trying to escape is Shamar Brown, but TJ Daugherty able to get him down after a 2-yard gain.
Daugherty has been there, done that many times. Came over from Clemson. He's a consummate linebacker. Plays downhill, plays good in coverage, and his football IQ is off the chart. So he sniffed that screen out immediately and was there just as the ball arrived.
Well, before we get 3rd and 8, the clock hits 2 minutes. We are at the 2-minute timeout. Game on the line. Ole Miss 27, Miami 24, and a 3rd and 8 coming up for the Miami Hurricanes. And down on that sideline, let's send it to Chris Button.
Kessie, I keep going back to that 3rd and 8 on Ole Miss possession when Miami gets called for defensive pass interference, and that extended the drive and allowed them to score on that drive. And this was the Miami of old that Mario Cristobal thought was fixed, a team that continues to have self-inflicted penalties. I've seen it in a couple of games that I had from them as well. It's not just the pre-snap penalties on offense.
Because I already got one copyright strike, Carrie. Once my strike goes away on the 10th, I'll start showing it.
He brought it up at halftime.
I'll put like a mirror right next to the TV.
Ian?
Okay, thanks, KB. Look at the time of possession.
I'm not trying to lose my channel,
Tim
bro.
Tebow, Jordan Rogers, Joseph Scott Galloway. This game should be a one-sided landslide win for the Miami Hurricanes. Kelly Stoffer, explain to all of America what we can't down here on the sideline. How has
you get a
Miss
copyright
done what they've accomplished
for
so far
showing
with
the
2
game, but
minutes to go,
sometimes if it's far away from the
when you look at the snap count,
far
Miami
away from
78
the
plays on
screen,
offense, Ole Miss only
you can get
56.
away with
Time of
it.
possession is insane. How does Ole Miss have a 3-point lead right now?
Well, I think the saving grace is it isn't really Miami's game to run away from the opposition. They don't really play an explosive style of offense. So I think that's the good news. Miami's very heavily penalized. I think KB was just talking about Chris Button on the Miami sideline, because there's lost yardage in those, I think, 10 accepted penalties on Miami. So that's the Miami that was having issues, especially in October when they dropped a couple of games because they were giving yards away through penalties. So that's what's rearing its ugly head here in this half.
those 10 accepted penalties, Kelly, against Miami, third most in a game this season. They had 13 at Florida State, and the last time they lost a game, they had 12 at SMU, a game they lost in overtime. 2 minutes to go in this semifinal. Winner heads to Miami to face either Oregon or Indiana. It's Ole Miss 27, Miami 24, and coming out of the 2-minute timeout, the Hurricanes will face third down and 8 from their own 39-yard line. 3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. Malachi Toney is now going to motion to the left side. Shamar Brown in the backfield. Snap to Beck, looking, lofting it down the left sideline, coming back, incomplete. Tried to get to Keelan Marion, but flag comes out. Jalen Braxton.
Oh, man, they bailed him out on that. There's a lot of flags coming in late.
Is Ron Snodgrass of this Big Ten officials crew. Marker down. Here's the call.
Personal foul. Face mask. Defense, number 2. 15-yard penalty. First down.
So Jalen Braxton on the coverage of Keelan Marion doesn't get called for pass interference. He gets called for face mask. And I think it was a pretty good call. It was going to be a back shoulder throw from Carson Beck to Marion. And underneath was Malachi Toney on an option route. And he was doubled. So Beck went outside to the right place. And they get bailed out by that grab of the face mask.
Wow, that puts them in Ole Miss territory.
4th penalty on Ole Miss. Minute 55 to go in the game. First down and 10 Canes. Over midfield at the 46. Quick pass. C.J. Daniels on the tunnel screen. Tries to find a blocker. Can't. And is taken down at around the 42-yard line by Wynette Williams. He'll get 4 on the play.
And that was a bad decision by Daniels. He should have continued further inside on that tunnel screen. It's been successful, and those offensive linemen were starting to arrive.
Getting closer, if not already, in field goal range. Down 3. 2nd and 6. Beck looking, pockets closing, does a 360, rolls to his right, throws for a receiver going up high, and will they rule it a catch? Yes, they will.
Wow.
Malachi Toney.
Outstanding
catch.
17 years old, he's taking over this game.
Comes down with it.
And Malachi Toney goes up and grabs it with his right hand. The question is, does he come down in bounds?
I think the answer's going to be no.
I think the heel of the right foot was out of bounds. But first of all,
on the field was a completed pass. It plays under further review.
It was an amazing catch. But I'm going to tell you this right now. That ball was not intended for Malachi Toney. I think Carson Beck was going to the receiver beyond Malachi Toney to C.J. Daniels, and it took this miraculous catch by Toney to go up and grab that, or it would have been a complete pass to Daniels behind him about 6 yards.
The stat earlier that Toney hasn't dropped the football.
Skied in the air and almost made that one-handed twister. Let's go downstairs to Ian Fitzsimmons.
That play happened about 15 yards from me, and I'm going to tell you right now, that was the greatest incompletion this year in college football. I don't care what game. That was an amazing grab. The heel does hit out of bounds. I thought it was out of bounds the moment I saw it.
He's the new Jerry Rice.
The ball to that guy? Come on, man. I mean,
Fitzy, were you in position to see maybe in line with C.J. Daniels? I think was the intended receiver.
No doubt about it. Yeah, Malachi just went up and grabbed it. But if he doesn't, I think
after review, it's an incomplete pass.
That wipes out.
Yeah, I got one right.
That wipes out, guys, what would have been the 100th catch of the year by Malachi Toney, and probably would have been his most amazing in an incredible freshman season.
And he was literally 4 inches, maybe 3 inches away from coming down in bounds. His heel hit out of bounds. And again, I emphasize that C.J. Daniels was the intended receiver, and I think Carson Beck was astonished that his freshman receiver could even go up and make an attempt at that football.
Well, they're probably about 4 yards away from comfortable field goal range. 3rd and 6 for Miami. Down 3 at the Ole Miss 42. Shotgun snap. Beck's going to throw right sideline. It is caught by Daniels. Second effort, tried to reach for the line to gain. Chris Graves defending. We'll see where the lineman marks it. It's a 7-yard gain. It looks like he needed all of them, and I believe he's got the first down.
C.J. Daniels on the press coverage outside, and it was very well defended by Chris Graves. That ball had to be right on the face mask of Daniels, or he had no opportunity, but he gets that line to gain on second effort.
And gets them inside a field goal range. We were told about the 38-yard line was where they needed it. They're at the 36. Snap to Beck, 1:08 to go. Lofts one right sideline, high and incomplete through the hands of C.J. Daniels, who had to go skyward for that one, stopping the clock with 1:06 left.
And that was a safe throw by Carson Beck. There wasn't really a receiver open. So you throw it up the elevator shaft, and if your guy can go get it, wonderful. And C.J. Daniels made a great effort, but if not, it just harmlessly goes out of bounds.
Facing on the sideline is Carter Davis, field goal kicker, who's hit from 38 today, missed from 51. We have 2nd and 10 here with 1:06 to go. Miami at the Rebel 36-yard line. Play clock at 5. 2-by-2 formation. Snap to Beck, looking, has nothing. Now he's going to sprint toward his right and throws it out of bounds. Nearly got picked as he was trying to throw that one to the Ole Miss sideline. There was a defender there who leaped for it, but it was too high for him.
Yeah, and the defender made a close play on that ball. So Carson Beck, if you're going to throw the football away, and sometimes as quarterbacks we learn this the hard way, I think this is going to go harmlessly out of bounds again, and a defender gets his fingertips on it. You got to throw that over to the cheerleaders about 7 yards behind the bench.
That was Suntarian Perkins, who's a big, rugged edge rusher. 3rd down and 10, Miami. 1 minute to go exactly in the ball game. A trip to the CFP finals at stake. Miami down 3. Snap to Beck. Throws over the middle. Caught at the 22-yard line and inside to the 18-yard line. Keelan Marion. Another 3rd down conversion. 17 yards from Carson Beck.
And this is all about Carson Beck's superpower. His strength is quick processing pre to post snap. He looks right, knowing where he wants to go to the football, which is the dig route to Marion on the backside.
45 seconds. Clock moving. 1st down and 10 from the Ole Miss 18. Snap to Beck. It's a keep. Beck bounces off the line and is dropped for a loss of a yard to the 19-yard line by Cam Franklin. 36 seconds to go in the ball game.
That was literally a quarterback read as we see that, I believe it's Miami that has taken this time out. It was a wonderful throw on the play before on the dig route. I talked about it. With the eyes, Carson Beck holds the safety in the middle of the field, thinking that he's going to go right. And at the last second, he knows he's going to the in cut on the backside.
Ole Miss using its first of 3 timeouts in the second half. 37 seconds to go in the game. Miami trailing Ole Miss 27-24. We had told you if it comes down to a potential tying field goal. Carter Davis hit from 38, missed wide right from 51. And has been a real good kicker. He's missed 5 field goals, now 6, but 3 of them we were there at Texas A&M, and gusts of wind blowing from one goalpost to the other. It's hard to count it against his record, but it would be a pressure kick if it gets to that.
Yeah, it was a hurricane on the Texas prairie back in that game. There's no question. And Carter Davis pushed the ball to the right. It was going right from the get-go on that miss that he had today.
First, we have 2nd down and 11 for the Canes. 37 seconds to go from the 19. Pump fake. Beck throws. Finds a receiver. Caught at the 8-yard line. Keelan Marion. And it's going to be right close to a 1st down. 10 yards. They will move the chains. 1st and goal, Miami.
So many good things on that play. It was a pump fake to the right side on the swing screen, and then he's coming back trying to get the ball to Alex Bowman is number 1 on the backside on a curl route, and if it's not there, Marion's the 3rd read, and all in rhythm, Carson Beck throws a strike.
Ole Miss going to use its 2nd timeout here with 31 seconds to go. Keelan Marion now over 100
Thank you guys for getting it up to
yards
60 likes. I
receiving. He's been
appreciate
the
you.
favored receiver for Carson Beck. I know Malachi Tony does a lot of good and different things. Marion, the transfer from BYU, had a 52-yard touchdown pass. And so far tonight, 7 catches, 114 yards. The time of clock has been dominated by Miami here tonight, as they're doing on this possession. They're in field goal range. Kelly, how do you play this here with 31 seconds to go, 8 yards away from a potential go-ahead?
Well, the key is 31 seconds, but you have 2 things. You have 2 timeouts, which is vital, but you also have a veteran decision maker at the quarterback position. So you can trust, I think, Carson Beck in this situation.
1st down and goal, Miami. at the 8-yard line. Down 3 with 31 seconds to go. Shamar Brown in the game. Gets the handoff. Brown at the 5. Brown at the 4. And he's grabbed by Will Eccles and taken down at the 3-yard line. A gain of 5 with 23 seconds to go. And a timeout was called. Miami going to use it here?
Yeah, Miami.
23 seconds left.
I could see the former offensive lineman Mario Cristobal sprinting down the sideline to call that timeout. So they have one timeout left as Miami. They're down by 3, 23 seconds. There's still enough time to kind of do what you want. That last play, they kind of condensed the formation and ran it up inside, and it was a nice run behind that physical offensive line, but I just have a sense that Malachi Toney
Fletcher's got to be getting this football.
might come into play down here deep in the red
Nah,
zone.
he can't.
24
Can't try to
seconds
get a
to go.
sack. They're going to go with the bread and butter.
Ole Miss 27,
Fletcher.
Miami
Behind that
24.
offensive
Second
line.
and goal coming up from the 3-yard line. Mark Hestisher, Kelly Stauffer, Ian Fitzsimmons, Chris Budden, first college football playoff semifinal. Tomorrow night in Atlanta, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, matching unbeaten top-ranked Indiana against Oregon at 7 Eastern time.
So, Kesty, what Carson Beck is thinking, and certainly Shannon Dawson reminded him, we have a tying field goal already on the board. But decision-making, if we throw it, I trust you. Make a good decision. Do not devalue the football right here.
Second and goal from the 3. Down 3. Snap to Beck. Looking, center of the field, nothing. Surveying has nothing. Now he's going to run for it at the 5, and Beck is into the end zone. Touchdown.
Damn!
18
What a
seconds to
broken
go.
play.
And Carson Beck trying
Fuck,
to run the
Hurricanes are
Hurricanes
gonna win it.
back home to Miami for a championship game.
How fitting is it that Miami not only goes up late, but it's Carson Beck's feet, which you wouldn't really expect, but it was a good decision. You run a play, Shannon Dawson trusts his quarterback.
Yeah, good call,
Nothing was
John.
there. He hits the escape hatch.
I wanted
up
Ole
into
Miss
the
to win
left
for that
side,
Lane
and
Kiffin
nobody is
shit.
checking the quarterback.
Carter
I just thought that would
Davis
be
puts in the
hilarious.
extra point, and we have our
I haven't liked that guy
lead
since he was
change
with the
of the
Raiders.
fourth quarter. 6th lead change of the semifinal. Miami with the 31-27 advantage on Ole Miss, and now the Rebels down to their final 18 seconds.
And Kesty, there was a 3rd and 6, and there was about an 8-inch window that Carson Beck could throw the football. He converts 3rd and 10. He throws it to the dig route on the backside, and then he throws another route to Marion down deep, and then the decision. And I'm telling you how important this is with Shannon Dawson telling his quarterback, and not all the quarterbacks that are in this situation would understand that. Listen.
Yeah, that
we
move
have
from
3
Georgia
points
to Miami, I guess, paid
on
off.
the
He
board
could have went
right
to the
now.
draft
We go
last
into
year.
overtime
Probably
unless
been
you
drafted
see it
like
correctly.
a 5th, 6th
And I'm
round
counting
pick.
on you to make a good decision.
Steady, he
Typically
made more
that might
money
be a
and stayed
decision
in
in the air
college.
to throw the football or not, but in this case, it's not to throw the ball, and Carson Beck escapes out the back door.
Kelly, that is only the 2nd rushing touchdown for Carson Beck this year. His other one was back in week 3 against South Florida. And this one has put the Hurricanes up 4, 31-27, 18 seconds to go here in Glendale, Arizona. They have not been home since November 15th. So it's going to be 2 months if they can hang on here with 18 seconds to go to get home for a championship game.
Well, they have Trinidad Houdini on the
And
other
Ole
side.
Miss can't
So
use
they're
that
not
field
out
goal
yet.
kicker
And Ole Miss has
because they're
one
down
timeout,
4.
but there is obviously not a lot of time on the clock.
Carter Davis will send this one skyward. It will be fair caught at the goal line, and that'll put Trinidad Davis 75 yards away with 18 seconds to go and one timeout.
Just get it to
If we
midfield
can
and
pull off one more
try to
Ole
throw up
Miss
a prayer.
miracle.
And Kesty, going back and looking at that touchdown play, it was trips receivers in a bunch to the left, and I think Malachi Toney actually made a bad decision. He had an option route. If he goes outside, I think he's wide open and Beck throws him the football, but he went inside, essentially got himself covered, and Beck made up for it.
Here we go. 1st and 10 from the 25. Chambliss, pressure coming, fires it up the seam. Caught near the 50-yard line. Caden Lee.
Get out of bounds.
With 13 seconds to go. Clock will stop as they move the chains. They have a chance to clock it here. They do
They're
have a timeout
all the way
in
to
bag as they
midfield,
sprint
probably
up
about
to the
13
48-yard
seconds left
line,
to
a
go.
23-yard completion. And Trinidad Chambliss will clock it here. That touchdown and the differential being 4 points huge because field goal distance means nothing here. It is a touchdown necessary for Ole Miss with 11 seconds to go.
Yeah, not only getting the touchdown, but getting the extra point was massive by Carter Davis.
Ole Miss from the 48-yard line, down 31-27, 11 seconds to go. Chambliss takes the snap, drops back, steps up, throws. It is caught at the 35-yard line by Stribling. 5 seconds to go. They'll use that timeout. 5 seconds to go, down
2 plays,
4.
they got it all the way to
And
the
in 2 plays,
35.
they are down to the 35-yard line. That goes for 17.
And the importance of those 2 plays, it gets Trinidad Chambliss in range to realistically throw the ball into the end zone. And who knows?
They'll add a second to 6, but is it still a 1 play?
I think it's
Now you
still
can
a
try to
one-play
look for
game,
that one-on-one.
especially because Ole Miss just used their last timeout wisely. But this ball goes into the end zone, and Carson Beck, we can see him on television on our ESPN coverage, is knelt down, and I think it's emotion already that's already spilling out of Carson Beck.
Kelly, remember, Xavier Lucas was hit with a targeting call and ejected with 8:54 to go in the 4th quarter. So all corners on deck here, but no Lucas in that secondary.
Yeah, there are a lot of holes in that secondary right now in terms of experience on the back-ended coverage for Miami.
And a couple of freshmen in there, Jabari Antoine, Bryce Fitzgerald. 6 seconds to go. Ole Miss from the 35-yard line needs a touchdown. 3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left, and as they get ready to go, a timeout, Miami's last, will be used here.
And Miami does the Polaroid play. We don't have Polaroids anymore, but what do we call them? Screenshots? Or?
Yeah, that's a good recovery by you into the 21st.
Thank you. I think you reminded me of that about 6 times this year, but what you look for is how the offense is going to line up. And what they were doing is trips receivers to the right side, twin receivers to the left side, Trinidad Chambliss in the backfield by himself in an empty set. And I think the most dangerous part of that formation is the secondary play that could break out with Trinidad Chambliss getting loose and throwing the ball into the end zone after he gets outside of the pocket, one direction or the other.
1 year ago, Trinidad Chambliss led Division II Ferris State to a national championship in McKinney, Texas. Nearly 13 months later, on the field with 6 seconds to go, needing a touchdown to put Ole Miss in a championship game. Miami 31, Ole Miss 27, 6 seconds to go. From the 35-yard line of Miami. Chambliss waiting in the gun, takes the snap, drops back,
Throw it up, baby.
Looking downfield, throwing for the end zone. It is knocked down, incomplete, and the ball game's over.
Miami's going in.
The Miami Hurricanes are headed back to the championship game, and they'll have a chance to win it at their home stadium. Miami 31, Ole Miss 27, a final from the desert in Glendale, Arizona.
The resiliency that you saw out of Ole Miss under the circumstances with Lane Kiffin and that whole story became really the Trinidad Chambliss story. But it was the restoration that happened with not only Miami as a whole getting back on the horse after that October, couple of losses, but it's the restoration of Carson Beck's career across the board.
Watching that replay, Ethan O'Connor had a lot of jersey on Dejon Stribling. Remember, there was a very controversial pass interference penalty against
Yeah, you can't call
Miami
the
in the
pass
state
interference at that
back in
point.
2002.
That'd have been terrible if they
in the
called
national
pass
championship game over in
interference.
Tempe, Arizona, but no flag. And Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes, who didn't even play in the ACC championship and were the very last team into the CFP.
So we're either going to see Miami, Indiana, or Miami,
for a
Oregon.
national championship against either Indiana or Oregon.
You really can't write the script any better for Carson Beck. Not only does he get to go home to play in a national championship game, but he's the reason they're here to begin with. His play down the stretch and his efficiency and his veteran leadership is exactly what the Miami Hurricanes needed to turn this thing around after 2 losses in October.
Miami Hurricanes possessed the football for 41 of the 60 minutes.
Jeez.
They were in position for, at worst, a chance to
They
tie
had the
it
ball
with a field
2/3
goal.
of the game.
But Carson Beck, the 7th-year senior, two-time
should have never
champ as a
been a
backup
one-score
at
game.
Georgia, coming back from an elbow surgery, really coming on down the stretch, has led Miami to 7 consecutive wins and on
No
to
problem,
the national
John.
championship game.
I appreciate you for
in
watching,
bid
man.
for their 6th national
Thank you,
championship
guys.
of the Final Four. They're
I'll
the
be
only
back
team with
for
any
Indiana,
championships,
Oregon
but it's been a
tomorrow
long
night,
time.
guys.
2001.
Miami
last
wins this
year
one
for Miami. So many of those
31-27
players
over
from
Ole
those
Miss.
national
Thank you guys
championships
for
here.
watching.
Saw Ray Lewis on the field before the game. Andrew and James here. Of course, Michael Irvin is always